Grandstand AFL coverage elsewhere. Enjoy that as your night continues.
ABC Sport.
This is ABC Sports coverage of the 2023 AFL Premiership season.
Pass out to the right, steps on goal, superb finish.
Turns, whacks it straight through the middle. Pulls the trigger on goal, and goes bang!
'Cause here it comes, here it comes. AFL. On ABC Radio, ABC Sport Digital, and now streaming on the ABC Listen app. Look for the AFL button.
Something big is coming, I know.
Upsets so far, round 20 of the AFL Premiership season. It feels like coming into tonight, it's a bit of a pick-em matchup. Essendon up against Sydney. Both teams hovering outside of the top 8. The Bombers a game and percentage out. Sydney 6 points out. But gee, it's getting tight in that mid-table given the results we've seen already. For Essendon, they carry in losing form, having dropped their past 2 games. They also lose Ridley and Stringer, both out through injury. Jai Menzies is back in the starting 22, and Elwyn Davey Jr. is also going to start tonight. It means that Will Snelling is the tactical sub. Meanwhile, for the Sydney Swans, they've won their past 2 games. They're coming from Perth. Pretty rare that an interstate team plays 2 away games on the trot, and that's what the Swans are trying to conquer tonight. They have won their past 2 games. They've got winning form, and their veteran Lance Franklin is out there tonight. Is it the last time we see him in Melbourne after all the talk this week about the possibility of him playing on into 2024? And of course, more pressing matters, the Swans trying to make sure their season at least extends beyond the end of August. My name's Corbin Middlemass. Jess Webster's here with me. Close roof at Docklands. Crowd filling up the Bombers and the Swans. Good evening, Jess.
G'day, Corbin. Good to be here. What a day of football. I wonder if the upset, the trend's going to continue tonight. It's been a spectacular day so far. I love the rivalry that these two sides have built over recent times. So much on the line tonight, and I think there'll be a few nervous fans in the crowd and perhaps in the commentary box as well, waiting to see what unfolds tonight. Massive game up for grabs. One of those classic 8-point games. Can't wait to see what happens.
Showdown in Adelaide tonight, so we'll keep you updated with what happens between the Crows and the Power. Our grandstand AFL experts, former teammates of the Saints, former St Kilda Collingwood Premiership player Luke Ball is with us. Hello, Ball.
Nice to be here again, Corby. Yeah, looking forward to this bizarro round, really. Hasn't it been a nightmare for tipsters? Great for the competition, though, again. And those, just when we seem to think we can peg a team and, this is their last chance, or I think we can put a line through them, the door's well and truly open, isn't it? Both in that top 4 now, really.
Yeah.
With Carlton making a charge and the Giants making a charge. But, yeah, focusing on tonight, these two teams can keep their season very much alive. For the Bombers, it's about resetting the ship. They were disappointing after quarter time last week, of course, and the Swans looking for 3 in a row. And I hadn't considered the double travel factor, actually, Corb, and that might, because it's a genuine toss of the coin tonight, isn't it? I don't think there's a clear favourite. That might just lean me in favour of the home team tonight, Beach.
Brendan Goddard with us, former Essendon captain, St Kilda champion, 5-10 this year, the sides, the week after coming back from Perth.
Yep.
The numbers have actually got better, Beach, in recent weeks. You know I love to follow these things. To start the season, it was actually 1-7 coming back from the West, but has improved in recent weeks. Are you with me and Bawley? Is that any sort of play role tonight?
I think it's a factor, and the fact that Sydney, obviously interstate team, and then have to travel again. So back-to-back travels with the longest trip in footy. And just probably the position they're in too. That last week was, every game for them now because of the position they got themselves in, particularly the first 13, 14 weeks is a must-win game. So mentally that's going to take a toll. And you're going over to Perth, tough anyway, and then to do it as a must-win game. Then to come here, similar positions on the ladder, try to fight for that top 8. They're in some really good form, though, Sydney. So that's what I like. They could easily be 3-1, as we know, with the draw against the Cats about a month ago, losing to Richmond, and their last couple of weeks have been outstanding. So I think just for Essendon tonight, it's about a response, isn't it? Just, yes, they've lost the last 2, but it's more about how they've done it. Coming off such a dominant performance against Adelaide here 3 weeks ago, who Adelaide at the time were in some good form themselves, and to demolish them and then to put in 2 poor ones. The top teams rarely put in 2 poor performances, let alone 3. So I'm with you guys and going Essendon tonight.
Feels like we're picking up contenders to make the top 8 rather than lopping them off. There's now just a game between 7th and 12th, given the wins to Gold Coast and Geelong losing earlier today. Ian Cohen is on double duties. He's on the boundary for us tonight. Good evening, Koza.
Absolutely. I feel like I've spent 3 days in traffic, but what an amazing match it was at Geelong, and I think tonight will be equally similar. The Bombers have won the toss, and they will kick to the right-hand end of your ABC Grandstand radio. And the subs, Will Snelling's actually the sub after being on the bench, and Ryan Clark for the Swans.
Thanks, Koza. So here we go. Two teams trying to keep their season chugging. The Bombers and the Swans on Saturday night, Grandstand AFL. You're with Jess Webster.
McLean and Phillips to do rattle in the bucket in the ruck. Battle in the ruck. Phillips wins the tap down straight down to McGrath and now to Caldwell from the centre square for the Bombers. Kicks up towards half forward to Davey Jr. The fist came from Cunningham, but straight down to Phillips, who gives it to Martin. Releases Parrish. Centre half forward. Kicks into the pocket. Marked by Langdon. Runs into an open goal and kicks the opener for the Bombers. 25 seconds into the opening quarter and Essendon are on the board. 1 straight 6, leading the Swans yet to score.
Come a bit of trademark, isn't it, Pete? The fast start from the Bombers, especially here under the roof. You mentioned the game against Adelaide a few weeks ago where they put 15 in the first half on the Crows, and that was just brilliant centre bounce work and follow-up from Andrew Phillips, who's become an unheralded, underrated player, hasn't he? Well, he's forever just been the backup, and we know that we haven't seen Sam Draper for a while, but Phillips is... His form since Draper's gone out, it's been absolutely magnificent. He competed in the ruck, followed up, got the handball, and Darcy Parish there, terrific follow-up and spread from the centre clearance as well, and a lovely kick to advantage to the Bombers' main man really this year, Kyle Langford. Certainly, with or without Peter Wright, he's been the focal point. So brilliant start for the Bombers.
Goal in the first minute. Sydney without a clean disposal. Phillips wins the hit out back in the middle. Lloyd tries to soccer it forward for the Swans. Smothered. Ricochets away to Campbell. Sydney win it at the coalface. Hand pass away to McLean. Long kick to centre half forward. A Marty down there. Hands to it. No mark. Spills down in front of Gordon. In the end, the soccer skills from McGrath as he just pokes the kick into the centre square. Sydney win it back. Cunningham. Hand pass out to Florin. He kicks wide for Gordon. Runs out of room and it rolls out of bounds. Right on halfway. Essendon with the first goal. 2 minutes in. Ian Cohen on the boundary.
Well, the goal was certainly quick, and so was Owen Davey coming to the boundary. Looks like he's got an injured hip at the moment. He's just trying to walk it out, but he's been in the hands of physios the last minute or so.
Yeah, he got a big knee in that first contest with Harry Cunningham, I reckon. So that's not a great way to introduce yourself back in AFL footy.
And the ball in on the outer side. Caldwell gives it to Merritt. He kicks Essendon inside the arc again. Rampy read that best and takes the intercept grab on the arc.
Looks like Callum Mills has got the job on Zach Merritt, Beach. So Mills in his 150th game, who we know is playing a little bit sore, so maybe that'll just sharpen his focus tonight.
Rampy short to McCartan, who kicks down the wing. It's off hands. Caldwell laying a tackle on Gordon, brings him to ground. Umpire circles and says, I'll have it. Stoppage on the outer side. Essendon by 6, early stages opening term.
ABC Listen Out place to be tonight. You can take your pick at what you want to hear. The Bledisloe Cup coverage is there. We'll keep you updated. The Wallabies and the All Blacks, and of course the cricket. Day 3 from the Oval. And if you look for the AFL Extra stream, you'll find the other game, the Showdown tonight, if you'd like to listen along to that. Still no clean takeaway from this ball up on the outer wing. Caldwell in the end shoots a hand pass to McGrath. Got it away to Nick Martin. Kicks inside the forward arc for Essendon. Hands to it from right, no mark. Front and centre's Menzies. Paddles it out in front of himself twice. Picked off by Blakey. Shakes a would-be tackle. Short kick to Rowbottom for the Swans. And he marks it centre half back. Essendon with the first goal. We're 3 minutes in. The Bombers by 6.
Kicks laterally to Cunningham at the top of the defensive goal square, and he has some room to move. Has a bounce and then kicks it down the broadcast wing to a one-on-one. Hind against Wicks. Wicks with the free kick for a hold. Right on halfway broadcast side. Hand pass to Blakey running along the boundary line. Neat kick up towards half forward where he finds Buddy Franklin. Then spears a kick inside 50, looking for Heaney. Zerk Thatcher read it best. It spills to Wicks though. Right foot snap around the corner, and Sydney have their first on the board this evening. Scores a level after 4 minutes. 1 straight kick apiece in this opening term on Grandstand AFL. Luke Ball and Brendan Goddard.
Yeah, it was great work by Wicks, actually. He was in the contest with Hine and then got a free kick, but that was just in front of us here on the interchange side on this wing, and he worked really hard to get back in play. That kick from Buddy nearly found Isaac Heaney, and then he was front and square, so I don't think Nick Hind...
Wasn't on the screen, was he? Just looking at the replay.
Doesn't want to see that one back. Well, he will be seeing it next week anyway in the review with one of his coaches, but must work harder to get goal side particularly in the small forwards, you know their role and you know where they're going to be 90% of the time, so he must work harder to get goal side and prevent him from impacting that contest front and square.
I reckon we're on Marvel Stadium surface watch tonight, Corby, after Ross put it on the agenda last week, and still see some, obviously the Storm were here last night too, so still see the NRL markings.
McLean back in the middle, wins the head out. Parker had it, lost it, coughs it up to Parrish, kicks the centre half forward for the Bombers, and Caldwell edged underneath it. Harry Cunningham with the intercept mark, hands it to McCartan, handball to Goulden, feeds it all the way back to Cunningham. Still in the defensive arc, mashes his kick to Heaney in a one-on-one. He gets separation from Redmond.
It's a great match-up, that one, isn't it? Heaney and Mason Redmond with the fresh ink on the new contract.
Goes short Heaney to Papley. 5-year deal for Mason Redmond during the week, ignoring the offers, particularly from his home state in South Australia, as Papley goes back to McCartan. Off on a trot. He's going to try out the city side. Hand pass away to Florent. Short kick up to halfway. Half volley pick up McLean. Hand pass to Florent. Keeps on moving. Jinking run. Avoids Hind. Hand pass goes out wide. Campbell pops it inside 50 and Amati marks. 2 steps in from the boundary line, 2 in from the 50, right half forward.
Well, I mentioned the NRL. That was a step from Ollie Florent. That was a real rugby-like step, wasn't it? He's been in really good form, Ollie Florent. Flies under the radar a little bit. Some bigger profile names around him, but he's becoming a really, really good AFL player.
So Joel Amati, tight angle here. Up against the boundary line. He goes back. The set shot sails right to the goal line and it's thumped through. Nick Cox, who played in the VFL last week and has been sort of training in recent times as a defender, obviously with no Redmond. Last line of defence there. We'll see how he goes down back tonight. So Sydney by a point. They hit the front for the first time, 6 minutes in.
Redmond from the kick in, short to Zirk Thatcher. Now called a play on. Kicks it down the line. He finds Durham in space. Right half back for the Bombers. Trail the Swans by a point. Wind up and kick it long to a big pack on the wing. Wright will come from behind, got his hands to it, couldn't complete the mark. Then follows up at ground level, has a fumble. Spills to Merritt, who gives it to Caldwell. Then to Davey Jr., who's kicked it right into the Sydney defender in Florent, who has a fumble and it's turned over. Caldwell to Wright, inside 50. Guelphy marks 40 out from goal. Tied up against the boundary line. Thought about centering the kick, and then now he does play on, trying to get around Rampy on the mark. His centering kick to a 2-on-1 favouring the Swans. It spills to Perkins, who gives it to Hine. The left foot snap is a beauty. The Bombers have a couple. 2 straight 12, leading Sydney 1-1-7. 7 minutes played opening term on Grandstand AFL.
Well, Nick Hine has got one back. It wasn't on Wicks. Wicks was on this interchange side, but good finish on his left. There's a really good outnumber here when that long kick down the line did come from Durham. Just the ability of Essendon midfielders in particular to get front and square and then impact with Zachy Merritt. There was Caldwell, was Parrish, Guelphy was in there early. Sydney did win it back, but the pressure and intensity from Essendon were able to win it back and then go pretty freely back inside 50, and then pretty aggressive kick from Guelphy from about 45 out in a tight angle back into the corridor, which opened up the game for Essendon. Had really good numbers front and square.
Mentioned the long kick. You'd like to see the Bombers go a bit more direct. They tended to resort back into that kick mark, chip around the backline game last week, didn't they, against the Bulldogs, and just really didn't provide any sort of threat to the Bulldogs team defence. So good sign early that they're going to play a bit more direct.
Umpire Rosebery with a good bounce. Brian wins it down, but straight to Parker. Kicks to centre half forward. Franklin pushing off Zirk Thatcher. Can't collect. Spills to Caldwell. Rides a bump from Buddy thereafter. Gives it to Heppel. Kicks in the middle of the ground, and Martin's got it. 5-point lead for Essendon. 2 early lead changes. 2 goals to 1. Kick heads out wide for Heppel again. He goes short to Kelly. Kelly wants to move it on. Hand pass to the run of McGrath. Takes a bounce. Feeds a hand pass to Merritt. Onto his left. Peg. Short kick. Finds Lattenford. Marks left half forward. 40 metres out. Tight angle.
Got there in the end. It's the one I thought Martin could have faced the game and looked forward and maybe found some options on that turnover ball with one-on-ones ahead of the ball. But nice bit of play. Good overlap run. Andrew McGrath's one. I love seeing run and carry, BJ. To me, last week, he had a lot of the footy, but it was all chip sideways and backwards. When he's penetrating, when he's using his legs, the Bombers are better off, and Langford gets a second shot at goal in the first quarter.
He kicked 3 of the first 4 last week, Essendon, against the Dogs. They have a chance to do it again. Langford doesn't miss many opportunities. He's got too early. And the Bombers are out by a couple of goals. 3 straight to 1-1. It's Essendon by 11 points. And their leading goal kicker continues to grow his tally. He's up to 37 for the season, Cole Langford. Brennan Goddard, Luke Ball, Grandstand AFL.
Yeah, I think your point around Martin just being able to face the game and go quicker, because against, got to say, a top 4 team, Essendon, you're hoping to make finals and then playing finals. I don't think they're going to get a mark inside 50 in that scenario by going wide, going slow. But to their credit, we're able to create that overlap by Andy McGrath, like you said, got the ball, got speed back on the ball, should I say. And as we're kind of alluding to at the Saints, is any mark inside 50 is a good mark, because it's almost guaranteed shot on goal. So when you have the ability to finish like Langford does, it's I think you'd give the
beautiful
ball,
kick,
yeah,
isn't he? Yeah, I think he's the best set shot in the comp. Yeah, I think he's, if not best, certainly top 3.
From the restart, McLean takes it out of the ruck, jams it on the boot and finds Papley on his chest inside the centre square. As Sydney move it forward. Papley, a long kick inside forward 50. Is that an infringement? Umpire says play on. Spills to Bryan, who then gives it to Heppel. Back to Bryan. They're under pressure at half-back Essendon. Gives it to Durham from hugged up against the boundary line. Long down the line to a pack. Off hands, Blakey to Goulden. His hand pass over the head of Rampy, who has some work to do close to the line. Pressured by Langford, over and out for a throw-in between wing and half forward. Essendon into attack. They lead by 11.
Ian Cohen on the boundary.
I haven't seen Buddy under lights for a while, but he is oiled up like a Turkish wrestler. He is glistening tonight. He's in for a big one, and the lights here at Marvel are just rebounding off those big shoulders.
Averages 4 goals a game against the Bombers. He's best of any team in his career. From the boundary throw-in, Warner gets the clearance, kicks to Franklin down on the wing. Laverty leaps up, no mark. Falls down in front of Heppel. He's tackled hard by Franklin. He's tackled high.
Did well to bring the ball to ground, didn't he? Compete a 2-on-1, but in his efforts there to be aggressive in the tackle, gave the free kick away, Buddy.
Heppel inboard to McGrath, heads down the wing, and here's Nick Bryan, the young emerging ruckman for the Bombers. Essendon by 11 points, as many minutes in, turns it over by foot. And Rampy takes the intercept mark, half-back for the Swans.
Yeah, Bryan missed a good opportunity then to get speed back on the ball. We had Zach Merritt, then Calderwood running past, and if I was a coach, I'd just send a little reminder out to him just to give it to your users and play your role as a ruckman.
Rampy long down the line, looking for Buddy off hands. Heaney at front and centre. Just toe pokes it forward. Buddy running after it. It's picked up by McDonald. Papley's gotten out the back. He has so much space inside 50. Can take the mark. Unselfish. Hand passes it over the top to Wicks, who bangs it home from the square. He's got a couple in this opening quarter. But an entertaining game under the roof. Essendon by 5. 3 straight 18 to the Swans. 2-1-13 after 12 and a half minutes in the opening quarter.
Just good surge footy, wasn't it? Nothing pretty about that. The long kick out of the clearance at half-back forward. Franklin again, really looking dangerous in the air. We saw his contested marking last week, which hasn't been a hallmark of his magnificent career, but he's looking threatening in the air against smaller Zerk Thatcher. It was Heaney that got involved, and a really smart, he saw the great vision from Logan McDonald just to pick the ball up. He saw that Papley had spat forward into space. What a smart player he is, and McDonald was good enough to get the ball to him. And in the end, I think John Lonwell will be pleased with that, because Papley certainly could have kicked the goal himself, but handball the ball over the top to his younger teammate Sam Wicks, who's off to a good start.
Errol Calder now out here on our wing broadcast side against Sammy Durham. Restart back in the middle. Bryan palms it straight down to Warner, who's tackled immediately. Swans with the exact same 23 tonight that beat Fremantle over in Perth. So Brian Clark again the sub. And the restart. Amati down to Mills. He's tackled, dispossessed. Hobbs the tackle will be rewarded. And Essendon will get the centre break. Something the Swans do incredibly well. They've won the tackle count now in their last 6 games, Sydney. We've got one going the other way here with Hobbs. Laying the tackle, winning the footy for Essendon. Lays it up to the hot spot. Right flies for it, no mark. Falls down to Menzies, tackled. Hand pass away. Blakey had it, lost it. Flying through traffic. Parrish can't collect. Cunningham gives it away to Florent. Hand pass to Mills. He kicks into space on the wing.
McDonald will be first there and taps it backwards to Wicks, close up against the boundary line on the outer wing. Can he keep it alive? He's turned it over, in fact. Gives it straight down to Cox, who gives it to Laverty from the centre wing outer side. Sends it high inside 50, but Swans had the numbers and McCartan takes the intercepting mark. And his kick finds Lloyd at half-back.
5-point lead for the Bombers. Kicked 3 of the first 4, and 14 and a half minutes in. Lloyd pulls the trigger back in the corridor to Mills, who takes the mark, wants Franklin, hits him up. He's got it right in the middle of Docklands. Lance Franklin loads up from about 65 out, kicks for a Marty. Up strong, he's got it. Top of the goal spurt for Sydney.
Fantastic footy. Beautiful kick from Jake Lloyd, wasn't it, to bring it back inside. Sloppy marking from the Bombers. They'd neglected the corridor, probably thinking that he wouldn't try and attempt that kick, but we know that he's certainly got that in his arsenal, Jake Lloyd. And it just opened the whole game up, didn't it, from there, and they were scrambling. Buddy involved again. He looks really sharp.
Franklin for the goal assist. Marty pops through the goal. Swans take the short way home. They snatch back the lead. A third lead change in this opening quarter, which is only 16 minutes old. Sydney by 1, 3-1-19. Essendon 3 straight 12. Brendan Goddard, Luke Ball.
Yeah, just when Essendon thought they were about to force a long kick down the line, Ball, they mentioned this, that kick back into the corridor, almost in the centre square from the half-back flank, all very wide on the half-back flank. Blakey actually run past. He drew the guy on the mark, which opened up that lane to kick straight down the middle to centre half forward to Buddy Franklin, and then had isolation going inside 50. It was actually Amati that was on the offside of the ball, which ran back really hard to get in line with the ball again, and then take that mark drifting across the front of the pack in front of Logan, who looked like he was going to mark it anyway. So if it wasn't Amati, it was probably Logan that was on young Cox at the time.
Dangerous, don't they, early? Forward of the ball, the Swans.
Back in the middle, Brian with the tap down for the Bombers. Perkins picks it up. He's tackled by Rowbottom. It spills to Durham. He jams it on the boot to full forward. It gets out the back. McCartan on the last line of defence for Sydney can gather. Kicks out wide, but it's going to be a turnover. Kelly takes the intercept and grab it left half forward for Essendon. Wants to kick into the pocket to right.
Oh.
It bounced off his head. Straight through his hands, onto his head and out of bounds for a throw-in 40 around from the Bombers' goal. I'd like to have that moment, I think. Again, Peter Wright.
I think it's literally hit him square in the face.
Had a decent Falcon, have we, for a while?
It's a good Falcon.
Picture one like that.
Interesting matchup. It's actually Kelly on that far wing playing as a wingman, which I thought initially he was trying to get to Goulden, because Goulden's arguably the best wingman in the competition at the minute.
Phillips palms it down to Rowbottom. Search kick forward. There's a free here for a hold. It's actually going Essendon's way against Franklin. So Zerk Thatcher to take it. Logo City wing. 17 minutes in. Swans by 1. 3 goals each. Zerk Thatcher loads up. Kicks for Peter Wright. Crashes the pack. Spills to Blakey. The Swans. Hand pass away to Fox. Jams it on the boot out of the defensive arc. Bounces at right angles. Out towards Heaney. First one there for Sydney. Sweeping hand pass wanted. Patley lays a bump on Hind, who finds the safety of the boundary line, and a throw-in right on halfway. City wing, Sydney by a point. No late change coming in, so Ryan Clark the sub for Sydney. It's Will Snelling for Essendon. He was technically in the 22, but he's the tactical sub, and Elwyn Davies starts in the 22 for the Bombers. And we've just started in the showdown, so they're about 20 minutes behind us. We'll keep you updated between Port and the Crows.
From the throw-in, Amani palms it down. Parrish will get there for the Bombers, but the boundary line beats him, and we'll do it all again. The wing position out of side.
Numbers pretty even. It's obviously reflected in the scoreboard. Entertaining start, contested possessions, clearances. Bombers 10 inside, 11 inside 50s to 7.
Healthy crowd in here tonight at Docklands. Plenty on the line for these two clubs wanting to stay in touch with the top 8. And the ball in out of side. Phillips wins the tap. Picked up by Caldwell. Nice hand pass to Martin from the centre square. Kicks it to full forward. Brian reaches up and grabs the mark. 30 out directly in front.
Well, he can add another string to his bow, can't he, Nick Bryan? We know he's a talented emerging young ruckman, but if he's going to show the ability to push forward, and that was just a beautiful kick to advantage from Nick Martin. We've seen him do that so often. And Nick Blakey there really not much of an opportunity against the taller player. So this is a real opportunity here for Nick.
Shoots towards goal and slams it into the post. So Essendon have drawn scores level, 3-1-19 apiece.
Swans try and move it quickly. Fox has a fumble, back pocket, regathers, kicks out to Campbell, who marks at half back. Just repeating in the twilight, a 41-point win for the Suns. First time since 2018 they've beaten the Lions. Keeps their season alive, and a slip up for Brisbane, who could be 2 games out of that top 2 spot. By the end of the night, if Port Adelaide win. Short kicking game for the Swans. Back to Fox, back to Lloyd, and now the switch. Out towards the dock side as Blakey marks. He's off and running. 3 bounces. Defensive side of halfway still. Kicks for Patley. Tough one to mark. He's up strong. He'll get a free as Redmond tucks out his arms. They've got a man all alone inside the forward 50. It's McLean. Kick heads in his direction. Nick Martin's back to save the day. Takes the intercept mark. Centre half back for the Bombers. Scores level as we tick into time on first term.
Oh, Martin's kick is a turnover. It was looking for Menzies, but coming across and chopping off is Papley. His kick in board to Rowbottom. Through his hands, has time to regather. Hand passes defensively to Rampy on the logo. Broadcast wing, sweeping hand pass to Cunningham. Now the kick up towards half forward. It was Rush as he kicked it. Heppel with the diving attempt, couldn't complete the mark. Picked up by Marty, is stripped to the footy close to the line. The umpire says toss it in. 45 around from the Swans goal. Scores a level as we enter time on of the opening term on Grandstand AFL.
Healthy crowd, Saturday night footy, Essendon home game. Scores level, 3 early lead changes. Phillips palms it down, but straight to Rowbottom. Hand pass to Gordon, the 1-2 with McInerney. Gordon laces it into the pocket for Heaney. Marks low down, millimetres off the ground. And Errol Gordon, just like a tracer bullet, got it to his intended target.
They're looking very dangerous, Sydney, aren't they, when they get the ball in their hands? Just moving the ball well, but I think it's just a few concerns for Essendon early, just with the team defence. When they do slow them down, they're just letting them...
Isaac Heaney snaps and puts it through. He puts the Swans back on top. Sydney by that goal, 4-1 to 3-1. 21 minutes travelled opening turn. Brendan Goddard, Luke Ball.
Yeah, just letting them get too much flow on the ball and get in the open side, and they look dangerous when they held up in defence in particular, and they're getting good looks inside 50 up the other end.
Both teams taking marks inside 50, as you said, Burge, all important stat. I mean, that was actually a brilliant mark. It was a bullet-like kick and a real hamstring tester, and in the end Heaney snapped it up off his ankles and his hands. So he looks in good form tonight as well. As we said, got a terrific match-up in Mason Redmond, who's a star bomber. Just a bit of class from Errol Gordon. What a player he's emerging into this year. You'd think he'd be leading the Swans best and fairest, and likely to add a maiden All-Australian jacket.
Back in the middle, McLean against Phillips. Picked off by Parrish. Dribbles a kick forward only as far as Gordon. His hand pass to Lloyd from the centre circles. Lovely delivery to centre half forward to Heaney. Hand pass back to Gordon. Sweeping hand pass to McInerney, who's running inside forward 50. Forced to backtrack. Hand passes defensively back to Gordon. From left half forward. Kicks at the top of the square and Marty's got it. I'm not quite sure if Gordon meant that completely, but he found Marty at the top of the goal square can line up from 15 metres out, slide angle left.
It's the energy, isn't it? It makes stuff happen. It was he who came in off the wing and had the first possession from the centre clearance, and then ran past Heaney to get the handball back, ran past again, had 3 possessions in that chain of footy, and you're right, it wasn't where it was supposed to go, but it just makes stuff happen, and the forward was in front first to move.
Marty makes no mistake. He's got a couple in this opening quarter. And Sydney extend their lead to 12 points. 5-1-31 to Essendon, 3-1-19. 23 minutes played opening term on Grandstand AFL.
Yeah, it's just maybe Darcy Parish for mine, just a little kind of scungy little kick forward, which there was no effectiveness really. He could have just held the ball in under pressure or looked to give the handball, but a rush kick which didn't go far. And man, Errol, my man, claimed years ago, didn't I?
Oh, Errol.
You're on him early?
Yeah, on him early, but yeah, I was on him early. But then it was just a bit of Mason Redmond too on Heaney, just sagged off a little bit too much when Lloyd got the handball receive off Goulden and then hit him lace out this top of 50, top of the arc, and then opened up the game, and then the runners came by.
Look at the replay, but it's great vision of the Swans forwards, all moving. You don't often see that with teams. So that, to me, that says that they're really in sync. They've played together a lot, and it wasn't pretty, but the chaos created the opportunity at goal.
Phillips with a tap work down to Perkins. Hand pass to Parrish. Kicks out wide. The target was Nick Martin. Getting there first. Guelphy hands it to Nick Martin. He's going to give it back to Guelphy. Has a fumble. Coughs it up. Braden Campbell onto it for Sydney. A 1-2 with McLean. Guelphy's still there with him. Lays the tackle, holding the ball. Matt Guelphy with the 1%er. A little bit of the dirty work. Follows up. And then wins the footy back.
Yeah, fumbled, but made up for it, didn't he? Good lesson there. It's one thing he does very, very well, Matt Guelphy.
70 out half forward, looks for 2 metre. Peter, he's got hands to it, can't complete the mark. Falls down to McCartan of the Swans, close to the boundary line. Hand pass away to Florent, back to McCartan. The Swans are going to keep it in. Kicks down the City wing. Flying through Hayward, can't complete the mark. Falls front and centre to Heaney, still with the Swans. Knock on, surge on type stuff. Middle of Docklands, picked up by Heppel, can just bang it forward for Essendon.
Coming back with a flight of the ball is Wright. No mark taken, picked up by Florent of the Swans. His hand pass to Goulden at half-back. Was he caught high by Davey? Umpire says it's holding the ball. Free kick to Alwyn Davey Jr. at half-forward.
Good call for the umpire. Tried to milk that free kick. Drop his knees.
Davies kick into the pocket's a good one and finds Peter Wright on a lead. He's grabbed it 40 out, 10 in from the boundary.
Just looking at Tom McCartan. Has he hurt himself there? Or is he just a bit gassed and disappointed that his direct opponent's taken the mark? I think he's okay, but yeah, you're right, Beach. Good call. He went in looking for the high contact, Goulden, didn't he?
Yeah, that's his priority's gone.
Davey was good enough to ping him. So a nice first genuine touch for Alwyn Davey Jr.
Peter Wright from long range, the sharp shooter. He's missed to the near side on this occasion. Sydney's lead cut to 11. 5-1-31 plays the Bombers 3-2-20. 25 played, first term Grandstand AFL.
7 games back now for Peter Wright. He's kicked 8 goals in their 2 wins and only 4 goals in their 4 losses. Which probably stands to reason a little bit about supply too, as the long kick out from Lloyd goes up to the wing and it's knocked away and out of play by Marty. So a throw in high half forward for the Bombers. The SMS line, Anthony from Wild Dog Valley, licking my wounds after the Cats lost today. But you lot of good company in front of my 5 pit again.
Oh,
Thanks.
Yeah, that's
so
our man
nice.
from the Wild Dog.
Yes, nice way to spend a Saturday night. Boundary throw in, Kelly to Perkins. Hand pass to Hind. He's pushed off his kick at centre half forward. Pack forms over the top of him. He's in trouble now, Hind. The umpire gives him the benefit of the doubt. I thought he was getting ready for the crouch down and the holding the ball.
I wouldn't say dived on. He kind of fell on it because the tackle. Good decision, in my opinion.
Sydney by 11. Clean with the palm down. Kelly's there for the Bombers. Gives it to Merritt. Is run down by Rowbottom in the back is the call. So free kick to Merritt inside the centre square here at Docklands. Sydney by 11. Merritt chips it into the forward 50 and gets past a few. Out the back is Perkins. He's brought to ground. We'll have a ball up 40 out from goal.
It was a really clever kick from Zach Merritt. Just into a pocket of space, and there were 2 Bombers players that could have made it theirs if they wanted it, but no one did.
Crows with the first goal in the showdown, 1-1. Port Adelaide yet to score. First 5 minutes. Restart back here at Docklands. Clever touch from Merritt down towards Langford. Kicks top of the goal square. 2 Swans spoil each other. Campbell and Rampy, and in the end off the knuckles of Rampy goes out of play, so we've got a throw in forward pocket for the Dons. 5-1 to 3-2. Sydney have kicked the last 4 goals in the game. 3 early lead changes. Swans by 11. Boundary throw in. Phillips nudges McLean out of the way. Runs into trouble. Cunningham got him. Ball comes out. Caldwell swings it onto his left boot. Swings it all the way home. Giant Caldwell up his non-preferred. And the Bombers hanging around in this opening quarter. 28 minutes in. 4-2-26 Essendon. Sydney 5-1-31. 5-point game the Swans' way. Grandstand AFL. Brendan Goddard, Luke Ball.
Well, he's got a knack for doing this, Caldwell.
Yep. On the left too, isn't he?
On the left. Did it a number of times against the Saints early in the year. And then I've seen him do it a couple other times. Just quick kick out of congestion around the stoppage. Phillips attempted to take it out of the ruck. I think it's commonly known as the Tom Hawkins move these days. Just push him under, take it out of the ruck, 1-step kick in front of goal. But the ball spilt. You don't need priority anymore as a ruckman. And then Caldwell was just crafty enough on his left foot to kick it from about 25 metres out in a slight angle.
He's off to a good start. 9 possessions, leading all comers. Caldwell, Martin for the Bombers, Florent and Goulden, all with 7.
Back in the middle. Warner gets the hand pass out to Papley out of fresh areas. Picked up by Caldwell. Gives it to Merritt. Now to Kelly. His hand pass to Redmond from centre wing. He chips it down the line. Hobbs just tried to Smash it forward. It goes out of play. Umpire says throw it in between wing and half forward, and Essendon's attacking half of the ground. It's Sydney by 5 points as we approach the half-hour mark of this first term.
Zero 0437 774 774 the SMS if you want to get in touch throughout the night. Swans by 5. Brian whacks it back out of play, so we're throwing high half forward again for the Bombers. 15 minutes into the opening term in Adelaide, Crows by 8 points. Cricket's about to start tonight as well, so ABC listen up, look out for the red cricket ball, with England to commence their second innings. Australia leading the test by 12. And the boundary throw-in, there's a free kick. They both look perplexed at the umpire. Nick Bryan's getting the free. Had no idea. But had his arms chopped by McLean in all of that. And so Bryan happy to take the yellow Sharon and pump it deep inside 50. Right, flies for the footy, no mark. Falls down towards Menzies, tackled. Footy spits out, ump says play on. Warner collects, took on the tackler. Hand pass too hot for Fox. Trying to shoot goal with Merritt, tackled. Got a hand pass back into dispute. Row bottom there, Merritt burrows in after it. In the end, it's Fox just to pump it out of the defensive 50.
Franklin has to spoil from behind. It spills down to Redman, who can kick the Bombers back into attack. Wright got hands to it, couldn't complete the mark. Follows up at ground level with a brilliant snap. And the Bombers have hit the front in what has been an entertaining first quarter of footy under the roof. The Bombers by a point, 5-2-32 to Sydney, 5-1-31. 31 minutes played in this first term Grandson AFL.
Well, he's looked dangerous, Big Pete, hasn't he? He's got his hands to several and hasn't quite clunked it. He probably should have taken that ball that came in from Mason Redman. He had a really good piece of it, but did well, stayed in the contest and butted up at ground level and got rewarded for it. So, yeah, 5 goals apiece with a minute to go in this first quarter. Very entertaining stuff. It was just the Bombers' pressure there again, being able to trap the ball inside their front half and repeat inside 50s. And more often than not, that results in scoring opportunities. So, terrific first quarter.
4 lead changes. Essendon by a point. Will Snelling and Ryan Clark, the 2 subs.
19 inside 50s to 10 for the Bombers.
Brian
dominated this last 5 minutes.
Brian wins the hit out. Papley at the coalface, grabs the footy, gets the centre break for Sydney, kicks out to half forward. Redman's up in front of McInerney, no mark. McInerney wins it, hand pass to Warner, steps around Parrish, takes him on, kicks into the forward 50. Papley's out after it, collects against the boundary line, kicks back inboard. McInerney clean collects, handball away to Parker, spun around, hand pass to the boundary line, and penalised holding the ball. It's Caldwell with the tackle. The umpire said he didn't get enough of a hand pass away. Free kick for the Bombers in the back pocket. Essendon lead the game by 1. 33 minutes into the opening quarter.
He's playing a game of footy. Jolly Caldwell, that's his 11th possession.
Kicks it long to the wing. A big pack. The fist came from McCartan and thumps it over the line for a boundary throw-in.
He's had 11, sorry Jess, and the man that he just pinged holding the ball, Luke Parker, only the 1 possession in his first quarter.
He had 11 tackles, Caldwell, last week in that loss to the Bulldogs.
Career best, I think it was. 11 tackles in a game.
And Luke Parker coming off best of field. All 10 votes from the coaches in the win over Freo.
From the throw-in, Rowbottom overran it. Picked up by Caldwell, hand pass close to the line to Merritt, who gives it to Martin, who thumps it down the line to a pack. Off hands, chasing after it is Cunningham, who has to lay a tackle on Heppel. Ball spills loose. Fox is there for Sydney, close to the line, tried to soccer it off the deck and then has to lay a tackle on Menzies and locks the ball up just forward of halfway. Essendon by a point, 33 minutes gone opening term.
And Brian chucks it up. Brian and McLean off hands both to Ruckman, comes down to Caldwell again, hand pass to Merritt, kicks deep forward and McCartan's up strong to take the intercept mark. And that'll do us to quarter time. Gee, a really entertaining start. 5 goals each, just a point in it. 4 lead changes. It's the home team that lead it by a point. Essendon 5-2-32, Sydney 5-1-31. Swans always well supported down here in Victoria, and they're wearing their South Melbourne jumper as well to pay homage to the old Bloods. They got the red shorts with the red V and the white jumper, and of course an Essendon home game all in black with a red sash. The goal kickers, Cole Langford has 2. In fact, he had 2 of the first 4 in the game. 1 for Caldwell, Hind and Wright. Meanwhile, for Sydney, 2 each for Joel Amati and Sam Wicks. Isaac Heaney has the other. Meanwhile, 19 minutes into the showdown, it's Adelaide who lead at 2-2-14 over Port Adelaide, 1 straight 6, so an 8-point advantage for the Crows. Approaching time on in the opening quarter there. The thoughts of Brendan Goddard and Luke Ball coming up in just a moment. It's Essendon by a point, quarter time at Docklands. This is Grandstand AFL.
You'll always find top drama on ABC iView.
Show me what you got.
Always intriguing with The Messenger and Smother.
I don't know who to trust anymore.
People think I'm a psycho. Always dramatic with Vandervalk and In Our Blood.
She really doesn't like you. The world needs beautiful things right now.
And always different with In Limbo, Bay of Fires, and so much more.
I'm back for an encore.
A surprise holiday. You'll always find the best drama.
Happy.
Streaming for free on ABC iView. Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Kelly wants to move it on. Hand pass to the run of McGrath. Takes a bounce. Feeds a hand pass to Merritt. Onto his left. Head short kick finds Langford. Marks left arm forward. 40 metres out. Tight angle. Langford doesn't miss many opportunities. He's got too early. Phillips palms it down, but straight to Rowbottom. Hand pass to Gordon, the 1-2 with McInerney. Gordon laces it into the pocket for Heaney. Marks low down, millimetres off the ground. Isaac Heaney snaps and puts it through. He puts the Swans back on top. Boundary throw-in. Phillips nudges McLean out of the way, runs into trouble. Cunningham got him. Ball comes out. Caldwell swings it onto his left boot, swings it all the way home.
Franklin has to spoil from behind. It spills down to Redmond, who can kick the Bombers back into attack. Wright got hands to it, couldn't complete the mark. Follows up at ground level with a brilliant snap.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Sounds there from the opening term, 5 goals each. Essendon by a single point. Meanwhile, in the showdown, it's a 14-point lead for the Crows. 21 minutes into the opening term. The thoughts of Brendan Goddard and Luke Ball on what has been a dramatic round of footy so far. The Suns by 41 points in the twilight earlier today. Freo by 7 over the Cats. And the Giants by 5 points over the Bulldogs. What do we make of the first term here?
Well, good game of footy, right? So 10 goals between the two teams, but it was pretty free-flowing and open game of footy. Essendon dominating around clearances, which is giving them pretty good looks going forward. They're doing a good job with their forward pressure, so playing the game in their forward half. But I think the most concerning thing for Essendon is just their ability to defend when Sydney win the ball, particularly in the back half. They just move the ball too freely at times, and Sydney have only had 10 inside 50s ball in. They've had 6 shots. They're running a 60% efficiency. They keep that up, the Bombers are going to struggle to keep them to a low score. So a lot going right for the Bombers. Just maybe their team defence, just tighten that up when Sydney do win the ball and force them to kick it down the line. But the stoppage dominance from Essendon is something that's standing out for mine at the minute, just with the mids getting to work. Caldwell in particular.
Yeah. What a quarter. Sometimes you're just on, aren't you, as a mid? Yeah. And you made the point last week, with Stringer in there a bit more and maybe a few others, he was squeezed forward a bit. He only had the 13 possession. He had the 11 tackles, so he's getting himself in the game. Well, tonight's his night to be where the ball is. He's been everywhere. He's been magnificent. 16-8 clearances, you said.
Yep.
And he's had 6 of them. So that's a really big start. So the Swans are going to have to do something about that. As I said, on the flip side, Luke Parker really yet to get going. So maybe he needs to take the responsibility and go and stand next to Jai Caldwell at this next centre bounce and at clearances this quarter and try and turn the tide there, because that's allowing Essendon field position. You mentioned that, especially that last 10 minutes, they're really able to lock the ball inside their front half and play a front half game and have multiple inside 50s, 20 inside 50s to 10. So you're right, still not really working for them in terms of being able to convert those, whereas on the flip side, the Swans looked pretty dangerous every time they went forward. So work to do there for the Bombers in terms of potentially lowering. A couple of times they had good looks, didn't they? Peter Wright dropped a few and they might have left a few out there, but certainly the game for the majority of that quarter on the Bombers' terms in terms of clearance and forward half pressure. So good signs, although we know they started well last week and weren't able to maintain it. So let's see if they're able to maintain the rage around the stoppages. Chad Warner's another one who's been pretty quiet So you think that he's going to lift his rating at some stage as well. So, terrific contest.
Yeah, I just think that the way the Bombers are playing and got the game in their terms, that's more sustainable than Sydney's efficiency going forward, because I don't think they can maintain the 60% scoring efficiency moving forward. So if Essendon are able to tighten up their team defence, they actually just really might dry up Sydney's scoring. But I think the way they're playing, time in forward half, their forward pressure, their clearance work, it's a lot more sustainable for Essendon. So that at this point, I think they're on top. Or even though the scoreboard would suggest that it's pretty even.
You just spotted Bawley, the outgoing chief executive of the AFL.
Yeah. With a clipped wing.
Yeah.
It's a big wing too, isn't it?
Yep. So he's got some running repairs.
Just wandering in on the green stuff, making sure that he enjoys his last month of home and away footy.
He's down in front of our own Ian Cohen. I'll check in with Koza in a minute. 1 point lead for Essendon as we start this second term. Entertaining opening quarter with 4 lead changes. Both teams kicking 5 goals each. Back in the middle, Phillips palms it down. First hit out of the second term. Straight down to Papley. Sockers it 40 metres forward. Franklin runs past it. Hind paddles it away to Redmond for the Bombers. Off half back. Kicks out wide. City wing. Unkind bounce for Florent. It'll sit for Hobbs. Links up with Menzies. Sends Essendon down to half forward. Half volley pick up attempt from Rampy. Can't trap it. Falls through to Lloyd. He's tackled. Got a hand pass out to Blakey. Swans keep it moving. Papley's hand pass is turned over as well. Bryant to McGrath. Handball inboard to Phillips.
He gives it to Merritt, who chips inside forward 50 through the hands of Langford. Durham out the back was brought to ground and holding the ball. Free kick to Sydney in their defensive 50. Great work from Braden Campbell.
Yeah, it's been a high-pressure game, hasn't it? Not necessarily high tackles, but there's been a lot of smothers or just players getting their hands in and causing turnovers. Good stuff.
Campbell kicks to Goulden, who kicks down the line to Papley, who couldn't complete the mark. It spills to Kelly of the Bombers, who gives it to Redmond. Close up against the boundary line. His kick is a turnover. Blakey intercepts defensive side of the wing. His kick is a turnover straight down the throat of Merritt.
Zach Merritt just has a look. No one stands the mark, so he's off and running. Drives his long left foot into centre half forward. Guelphy runs straight into the man in front, Cunningham, who had stopped to try and set to land at the drop of the footy, and that's a free kick against Guelphy every day of the week. Bombers by a point. Meanwhile, in the showdown, it's Adelaide by 8 points. 2 minutes before quarter time there. And 2 minutes into the second quarter here.
Not sure that's Matty Guelphy's wild beach.
No.
Cunningham
put the hand in the back there.
Cunningham to Campbell. Now he goes long with the contest kick to the wing. McLean had hands to it. No mark. Falls down to Zach Merritt. Hand pass away to Phillips. Handball to Laverty. Nothing up ahead. He's caught holding the ball. Warner lays the tackle. Ian Cohen on the boundary. Koza.
Yes, well, the former chief executive hasn't fallen off a polo steed, according to what he's told us down here. It's just a bit of a clean-up on the left shoulder.
Thanks, Ian.
Injuries.
Sydney work at a half forward. It's off hands and out of play for a boundary. Throwing it right half forward. Essendon leads by a point. 2 minutes into the second term.
Squeeze some surgery in between European holidays.
We just got back, have they?
He's been away with the chair of the commission, hasn't he, with Richard Goyder?
Throwing it half forward for Sydney. Phillips with the tap down to Hobbs, who was set upon immediately by Rowbottom, locks the footy up at half forward.
Have either of you had surgery post-career on any footy injuries or any ongoing
couple?
stuff?
Yeah.
Jeez.
You get the back, didn't you?
No, not in the end. Thumb and ankle.
McLean down to Rowbottom. Hurried kick forward and Laverty chops it off. Half back for Essendon. In a slow play now for the Bombers. Laverty kicks down the wing, broadcast side. McLean.
Oh, no.
Got to the front, took the
mark.
mark.
He's okay. Sorry, I just went off a bit. So I thought Tom McCartan had just run straight. He did. He ran straight into the back of Andrew Phillips.
Seems to be okay behind all of that. McLean marking in front. Gave it to Lloyd. Long kick forward and Amadi has it again. A sticky mitts tonight and he's got it here. 35 out just right of centre.
Yeah, no, he's okay. I thought it was head related for Tom McCartan. We know that we certainly don't want that to happen, but he's up and about. He's okay.
It was uncontested mark in the end for Amadi, who's just got behind Jaden Laverty, floated in front of the pack, which he's done twice now. He took that one in the goal square early and converted.
Amadi, he now has 3. He gets the Swans going to start the second term. Lead change number 5. 6-1-37 Sydney, Essendon 5-2-32, Swans by 5, 4 gone second quarter. Before Luke Ball and Brendan Goddard downstairs, Ian Cohen.
As the boys in the back are identified, McCartan did crash into the back of the head in front of him. He hit it face on. He then hit the ground. The doctors have been out assessing him, but of course, nervous times for that family again. But he looks to be okay, but it was a really solid whack to the face.
Yeah, we mentioned the aerial prowess down there and the undersized. Clearly, that's been that's a plan of John Longmire, especially under the roof here. The undersized Essendon defence. It's forced Nick Cox back actually, so he's playing as a key defender on Logan McDonald. But Joel Amati, he's the one, isn't he? 196 centimetre, 100 kilo against Jaden Laverde, who knows gives his all, but he's giving away a lot of size.
From the restart, Merritt gives it to Parrish, who gets it on the boot towards half forward for the Bombers. Out the back is McCartan. He has a fumble picked up by Kelly. He's stripped to the footy. Play on's the call. Goulden trying to feed it out. It gets out the back to Warner, who picks it up. Gives it to Rowbottom and now to Mills from half back. His kick is not a great one. Straight to Durham, who's marked at centre half forward. Can turn around and pump it along to the top of the square. Right, got hands to it. Couldn't complete the mark. It spills down to Hobbs. He gives it to Menzie. Outside of the boot is out of bounds on the full. Free kick to Sydney in the right back pocket. They lead by 5.
Braden Campbell to take the free, one of their young academy studs, picked 5 from a couple of years ago. Now 44 games into his career. He kicks a shocker here. Out to half-back. Bounces through to Franklin. Hand pass inboard to Warner, who's off and running. Space in the middle of Docklands. Finds a Marty centre half forward. Sprawling mark. He's got it again. And Amati will line up to try and make it 4.
No, you called it, Luke. It was a great kick from Warner. Just put it to his advantage as Amati was actually lengthening back towards goal, and he just opened up a little space for himself. And Chad Warner, like a lot of great ball users, just draws a lead from Amati and forces him to where he wants him to go.
We'll take a 50-metre drop punt from true centre half forward. Amati moves in. His drop punt is good. It just fades late out to the left to behind. 3 goals, 1 for Amati tonight. 6-2 to 5-2. 6.5 minutes into the second term. Sydney by a goal. Meanwhile, quarter time in Adelaide. It's the Crows who lead Port Adelaide by 12 points. So Adelaide by 12 at quarter time.
Hind with the kick in. Goes short to Parrish, who gives it back to Hind. He kicks down the broadcast wing. It's a good, well-weighted kick to Guelphy, who's marked on the logo in front of Blakey. He shoots it to centre half forward, where Hobbs is marked just outside 50. Can turn around and spot Langford at the top of the square. The Bombers go coast to coast. And Langford can line up from directly in front, point-blank range.
That was like a training drill. It was a bit better than that, actually. It was elite foot skills from the Bombers from the back half. Nick Hind, the kick in, back into the corridor, got the hands back. Guelphy just able to sneak over the back of his opponent here on the centre wing, and they still kept speed on the ball, and it was a brave kick from Guelphy to find Hobbs, and then it was Kyle Langford top of the square. Sydney haven't touched it.
Langford completes the team play with goal number 3. And we're back to level. 6-2-38 apiece. 8 minutes played. Second term on Grandstand AFL. Luke Ball and Brendan Goddard.
Yeah, not a high percentage rather of scores come from kick-ins, do they, Beach?
Lucky to get...
Is it 1 or 2% if that?
Yeah.
Well, it was coast to coast into coast to coast, wasn't it? Because it was the Swans that had gone coast to coast, not as effectively as that.
Marty
prior to
set
that.
shot,
Marty set shot, albeit for 52 metres out, just went wide. So really, that'll disappoint John Longmire, because that it was a slow play, slow shot at goal. Swans should be able to set up a lot better. And Bombers had players and key players like Kyle Langford out the back on their own.
Just to put it into context, Melbourne were the best last year from defending their kick-ins, or opposition kick-ins, and they didn't allow 1 goal in 23 rounds last year.
Get the Kozer in just a moment. Scores level back in the middle as Brian wins it down. Merritt, hand pass out to Redmond, peeling off the back of the square. Kicks to centre half forward. Blakey spoils it away into the safe hands of Lloyd. The 1-2 with Cunningham. Lloyd in the defensive 50 can roll back onto his right boot, kick down the wing. McLean the target. Bryan knocks it away from him, close to the boundary line. Sammy Durham trying to keep it alive. In the end, lucky not to throw it. Throwing right in front of the benches. Ian Cohen.
Buddy Franklin out of the game. Buddy Franklin out of the game. He's sitting in the back row. He's just been subbed out. We think it might be a hamstring potentially. Wow. Hasn't had a lot of attention, but he's out of the game.
No ice anywhere. Just looking at the, he looks pretty dejected. It's a shame. He looked really sharp. We commented a couple of times in that first quarter.
Gee, that's a huge moment in the career of Lance Franklin. Just 4 games left in the season after this, and a suspected hamstring injury for Lance Franklin. Thanks Koza for that. Scores level. Hurried kick forward from the Bombers and Nick Bryan, but intercept mark for Cunningham, and now 50. He's going to be marched up into the front half. Just repeating, Lance Franklin subbed out of the game early in the second quarter.
Warner now shoots a pass to centre-half forward, knocked away from Wicks, spilled to Cordwell, he gives it to McGrath, wobbly kick off the boot, Davies tracking it, picks it up, tried to find Heppel, picked up by Wicks, brought to ground, dispossessed, now Blakey picks it up. His hand pass looking for Cunningham. McGrath's there for the Bombers. His hand pass got through to Cordwell. He loops the hand pass over the top to Perkins from the outer side. Into the pocket. Langford has a couple to beat. McCartan coming back with a fist. Kills the contest out of play for a throw-in 30 around from the Bombers' goal. So just repeating that news, Lance Franklin has been subbed out of the game and Ryan Clark comes in for Sydney.
We'll talk during the week about whether he'll play on into a 20th season, and unfortunately he's lasted less than a quarter and a half tonight. Subbed out of the game, suspected hamstring from the boundary throw-in, or comes down to Cunningham. He's clipped high by Nick Martin, running past to grab the footy. Cunningham dropped down to grab it, and I think the passing knee or leg of Nick Martin's just clipped him on the way through inadvertently. And Cunningham goes back and across to Fox, so he's got a sore noggin, but he doesn't seem too dazed. He's back on his feet and just rubbing his head, takes the free kick. Fox, who took the mark, lays it off to Rampy. He goes long out towards the city wing. Bryan again involved, slaps it down to Cordwell. Hand pass away to Redmond, retreating back to Laverty. Hand pass under pressure to Heppel. Moves it forward now for Essendon. To the flank, up Gordon, takes the intercept mark. Is it for Sydney at half-back, scores level. 11 minutes into this second term. Meanwhile, in Adelaide, it's quarter time and the Crows lead the showdown by 12 points over Port Adelaide. And the short kick here finds McDonald, who marks defensive side of the wing for Sydney.
Winds up and kicks it long to half forward. It gets out the back to Heppel. His hand pass to Hobbs put him under pressure. He had a fumble. But it does spill the way of Davey, who has a bounce in the centre square. His kick partially smothered. He runs back onto it. He gives it to Cox. He just got the hand pass away as he was tackled to the ground. To Perkins, who runs inside 50 and kicks a wonderful goal. This is a great contest to watch as Essendon hits the lead. It is the 6th lead change of the night so far. We're 12 minutes into the second term. Essendon 6-2-44 to the Swans. Did I say that correctly? 7-2-44 to Sydney, 6-2-38. Grandstand AFL.
Well, it was good ball movement, I guess, in a sense, from Essendon, being brave anyway, taking through the corridor. A bit of luck involved with Davies' kick being smothered and then falling back in his lap. So it was good overlap run then provided by Perkins as a forward. Just watching it on the replay, yeah, straight back to him. It was Logan McDonald that actually applied the pressure, and there was just an outnumber for Essendon, then forward to the ball. And then a great finish from Perkins from about 45 out in a slight angle. So good footy when Sydney had a 450 entry and Essendon were able to rebound with speed.
They get a bit of relief with their key defensive. We just finished saying that they looked a bit stretched down there, the Bombers, but with Franklin going off, it just means Laverty can move to a smaller opponent.
Dons by a goal. Parrish had first disposal, but the clearance to Sydney. Goulden kicks to centre half forward. Zirk Thatcher spoils it away. Still inside the defensive arc for the Bombers. Hobbs clean, picks it up. Hand pass away to Laverty. Kicks down the city wing. Couple of key one-on-ones. Sydney with numbers arriving late, and Lloyd stands in front of a pair of players to take the mark. Hands it to Campbell. Short kick to Patley. 60 out, left half forward. Lance Franklin, in what was meant to be his last trip to Melbourne, subbed out early in the second quarter, suspected hamstring. Kicks to the top of the goal square, Patley. Logan McDonald, the target, spills to Wicks. Hand pass to Warner. Warner hooks it through. Knots it all up again. 44 points apiece. It's been blow for blow all night. 14 minutes into the second term. Scores level 7-2-44. Ian Cohen on the boundary.
We're just trying to find out from the club exactly what it is with Buddy Franklin. It looked like hamstring, potentially calf. We'll bring that to you as soon as we know officially from the club. He's a forlorn figure sitting there. He just took the tape off his thumb, threw it down to the ground. He's now sitting back and just hands in the head and really disconsolate in the back row. And without putting too fine a point in it, after 354 games, this might have been the last we've seen of Buddy Franklin out on a footy oval. If the Swans don't play finals, obviously, and if he doesn't go on it next year, that'll be it, not only for Melbourne, but I would suggest that'll be it for the champion.
Certainly hope not, but it looked like a hammy from the replay.
Restart back in the middle. Phillips wins it down to Parrish. Hand pass away to Martin. He's tackled, dispossessed. Ball comes out. In the end, the Essendon recover it. Caldwell kicks down to half forward. Bryan taps it to his own advantage. He's having a night, the big fella. Hands it off to Hobbs. Shoots goalward, misses. Out to the left, to behind. So the Bombers by 1. 15 minutes into the second term. 7-3 to 7-2. Biggest lead either way is 12 points. We've had 6 lead changes already.
Fox with the kick into McInerney at half back. He kicks into the centre of the ground. Heaney lost his feet and it spills the way of McGrath, who pumps Essendon back into attack. No one home. Fox takes the intercepting mark for the Swans. Kicks out wide to Lloyd. Essendon by a point halfway through the second term on Grandson AFL's Lloyd. Chip short to Fox. Right half back. Warner with the last goal of the game. We've had 6 lead changes so far tonight. Fox kicks long down the line to a big pack. Spills to Hobbs, who's tackled immediately. Laverty, in fact, ball locked up on the broadcast wing. Essendon by a point.
By Rosebery tosses it in the air. Amati down doing some of the ruck work. Palms it down. There's a whistle on the play here. Goulden tackled without it. He called for the free. He's getting it. A young star, Errol Goulden, with 21 on his back, kicks inside the forward 50, picked up on the bounce by Mills, head pass under pressure, went straight to Redmond, handball out to Hobbs. Has it half back for Essendon, short kick, finds Nick Martin. It's been a great year for the Bombers, the wingman, as he kicks all the way up into the front half. Menzie threw his head back, no free kick, falls down towards Parrish, goes long, forward pocket, Nick Bryan takes the mark. Against the boundary line, left forward pocket for the Dons.
That's good ball movement again, good transition ball movement. He moves well forward of the ball, Nick Bryan. Sometimes the big ruckman can go down there and just look a bit out of sea, fish out of sea, but finding some nice pockets of space.
21-year-old, 30-metre snap across the body, kicks it a little skinny. This is near side, 7-4 to 7-2, 17 minutes into the second term, Bombers by a couple of points.
Sydney quick to bring it back in. Lloyd to Fox at half back. He's kicked down the line, finds Hayward. Wants to chip it in board to Goulden, who's marked. And ball was knocked out of his hands. The umpire said no 50s. Goulden chips short to Fox inside the centre square and gives it back to Goulden, who kept running. His hand pass over the top to Florent, who kicks a long kick inside forward 50. Amati was there, couldn't complete the mark. Spills away of McDonald, who hooks a kick around the corner, and it goes all the way home. The Swans are back in front, a 7th lead change of the game. 8-2-50 the Swans leading Essendon 7-4-46, 18 played, second term Grandson AFL.
No, they're claiming it's touched there, Jess, so the umpire
calls a goal, soft calls a goal.
And the players are convinced it's touched, so they're to the point where Nick Hine actually went and grabbed the ball again, ready to kick it in. But
it's going to be hard to overturn.
Yeah, well, they do review every goal, don't they? So they say, but
well, actually, Logan McDonald was too honest. His reaction suggested straight away that it was touched, and then he sort of joined in the fun a bit too late with a high five, but I think he might have given it away, but we'll see if there's enough evidence here to overturn it.
There's not a single player that's set up for the centre bounce back in the middle to spot the umpire.
The umpire's got the footy.
and he's trying to pull them into the 6-6-6 zone, and now they're calling for the score of this.
So,
goal won't count. Cancelled out.
Okay.
It's a behind.
Right.
Ian Cohen on the boundary.
We're on buddy watch down here, obviously. He's still sitting in the back row. He's not going anywhere from there. But as players come off, including McCartan and Blakey, they've come to him, and we believe he's mouthed the word calf. What have you done? Calf, it looks like. But we're still waiting for confirmation from the club.
Thanks, Koza. It's a sad way for the night to end for him. And Lance Franklin, with just 4 games left in the regular season after this, subbed out early second term, suspected calf injury. Bombers work it up the wing. Merritt. Polly Farmer, hand pass out in front of Martin, can't collect. Spills to Hayward of the Swans. Hand pass to McInerney, clever. Paddles it away to Cunningham. He wanted the boundary. In the end, the boundary ump's right there to call it out of play. So we're throwing in front of the interchange gates.
Uncharacteristic. Nick Martin fumbles, cost Zach Merritt one of the handballs of the year there. Yeah. That was a beauty.
Throwing on the wing right in front of us. On Grandstand AFL, Phillips in front position, whistle on play for high contact. And it is going Phillips' way for Essendon on the low-code broadcast wing. The Bombers by a point. As Essendon by a point at quarter time. Phillips winds up, kicks it long inside the arc. Getting back and getting a hand to it was Florent, couldn't complete the mark. Now Goulden in a 1-2 with Fox to McInerney, back to Goulden from the wing, spears it to Heaney, who's marked right in front of the interchange gates.
He's getting moving, Errol Goulden. He's everywhere at the moment.
Bad kick, Heaney. Davey breaks it up, knocks it down. Under pressure, Heaney wins it back. Hand pass away to Florent. Handball back inboard. Pack forms around the Swans, and Clark on the bottom of that. Bombers extracted. Perkins to Caldwell. Hand pass to Martin out in front of Parrish. Great trap around the back. Kicks it deep forward for Essendon, but McCartan's back to save the day. Gee, it would have made a good highlight. Perkins just almost held it to his number on the back of his jumper. Short kick, barely got the row bottom. Hand pass to Fox. He kicks out wide, and Campbell marks at half back for Sydney. It's the Bombers by a point, 21 minutes into the second term.
He kicks down the line to Lloyd, defensive side of the wing. He kicks up the line looking for Mills, but coming back and killing the contest is Zerk Thatcher. Sends it over the line for a throw-in between wing and half forward. Sydney into attack. They trail the Bombers by a point. Just repeating the big news here at Docklands. Lance Franklin subbed out with a suspected calf injury earlier in this second term. Ball back into play. Phillips in front position, palms it down, but tracking in is McInerney for the Swans. He hand passes to Warner, who tried the fend off, just got boot to ball to Lloyd, who hand passes to Campbell. Right up against the boundary line from half forward. Kicks it long. Mills the target. He's got it. And Callum Mills in game 150 can line up for a shot at goal. 40 out, slight angle left of centre.
Well, he's almost playing he is playing as a permanent forward, Callum Mills. He started in the first centre bounce. I thought he was going to be set for a night on Zach Merritt, but this quarter he's been a permanent forward.
In his milestone game, Callum Mills comes in. And this is to the right-hand side. But scores are level for the 5th time, is my count here in this game at Docklands. 7-4-46 apiece, 22 played second term.
Hind on the kick-out duties, goes short to Heppel. That milestone for Callum Mills. Game 150 becomes just the 72nd Sydney Swans / South Melbourne player, so one of the original 8 to reach 150 games. It's a long kick from Heppel up to the wing, spills down to Warner, took on the tackle, got a hand pass away to Papley, look away handball to Florent, gets through traffic, kicks inboard, superb. McInerney marks, back in the corridor, 30 metres out.
Yeah, it was a great kick, wasn't it? Just Sydney just on top here, probably the last 5 or 6 minutes, just playing the game in their forward half, getting good re-entries, there's good pressure on the ball when Essendon do win it. And Essendon just making a few mistakes, either by hand or foot here, just to give Sydney a bit of momentum leading into half-time.
Crows still by 14 in the showdown, 7 minutes into the second term there. McInerney trots in here. Lead change number 7. Drives it straight through. And turns the lead around for Sydney. Swans up by 6. 8-4-52 to Essendon, 7-4-46. 24 gone second term. Brendan Goddard and Luke Ball on Grandstand AFL.
Yeah, you're right, but it's been a high-pressure game, hasn't it? And I think part of it has been Sydney's ability just to absorb the Bombers' pressure in the last 5 minutes. which I don't think's dropped off, but the Swans have just been able to stand up in a few tackles, get a few extra numbers over to the contest to support. And that time was Florin again, who had an initial fumble, but was good enough to stay in the contest and centre the ball. Just lovely vision there, wasn't it? And again, that'll just be a couple of times tonight, isn't it? There's been, probably from both teams really, forwards ahead of the ball on their own, which will be concerning both coaching staff.
Sydney with the last couple in the game. They lead by 6. Back in the middle, McLean palms it down. Merritt just whacks it forward only as far as Goulden. Merritt stripped him with a footy and gave it to Perkins. Hand passes back to Merritt from the wing outer side. Kicks Essendon inside the arc, right the target, knocked away by McCartan, spills to Cunningham. He jams it on the boot towards the wing. Hayward will have to make it a contest and did really well against Heppel. Follows up, but he's tackled immediately by Cox, who swung him in the 360. Looked a little bit dangerous. Umpire said no free kick. The ball spills out of play for a throw-in. Sydney by 6, 25 played second term.
Did well, Hayward. Yeah, you're right though, Jess. My initial reaction was always a bit of a sling or a dump, but umpire was right there. Nothing doing.
Boundary throw-in. City wing. McLean palms it down, scooting through. Hobbs takes it clean. Hand pass to Cox, to Heppel by hand. Back to Hobbs, now through the centre square for Essendon. Gives it to Hind. Ugly hand pass. Hind knocks it away from Redmond, but Parrish is onto it. Collects, completely cooks the kick. Straight over the head of Kelly. Missed him by 10 metres and it rolls out of play. So a throw-in half forward for the Bombers.
Well, it's interesting. I spoke about Jake Kelly's potential role on Goulden. He actually got to him in the first half of this quarter, and you and Jess, Corbs, have called him a number of times, just the impact he's had through the middle part of this quarter, where Jake Kelly actually couldn't get to him. He actually moved wings to this interchange side, so maybe just something to look at in the second half to Jake Kelly to go to Errol Goulden.
Bombers win it from the ball in. Parrish kick inside forward 50 to a pack. Cunningham's there for Sydney. Gives it to Campbell. Got around a would-be tackler and then just barrels it straight down the corridor to centre half forward. No one inside forward 54. The Swans. Hayward.
His
hand pass to Goulden, and guess who gets out the back? It's Amadi, who can mark, run into goal, and kick number 4. Sydney's lead out to 12, 9-4-58 to Essendon, 7-4-46. 26 plays second term on Grandson AFL. Luke Ball and Brennan Goddard.
Just smart forward craft. Well, he did, but he saw that the Swans had the end. Okay, so it's a bit of a risk, isn't it? Risk reward, but he saw that the Swans had the outnumber over at the contest, and it was a bumbling ball. In the end, you live or die by it, don't you? But he backed his teammate to win, or the outnumber to win the contest, and he kept. It started with the big mongrel ball from Braden Campbell, which I love. There's still room for that, isn't there?
It's just put them under pressure.
Put them under the pump.
And Zirk Thatcher made the decision, which he ended up impacting, but he fumbling the ball, playing around like it was soccer. Just bend down and pick it up, mate. Treat it like gold. Get your hands on it. If worst case scenario, they get a ball up,
exactly, or belt it out towards the boundary line. Yeah.
Or if it's holding the ball, at least you got time for your teammates to get back and pick up Amadi and clog up the D50.
Equal game high, Sydney by 12 points. And what's been a tight affair so far. Rowbottom first touch, down to Goulden, kicks for Amadi, leading at it, no mark. Spills through to Hayward, jams it on the boot, needs a kind bounce. It's off target and rolls through from behind. Sydney by 13 points, ticking towards half-time, 27 minutes into the second. Meanwhile, in the showdown, halfway through the second quarter, Adelaide lead Port Adelaide by 16. So Crows on top in South Australia.
Redmond with the kick in, finds Durham in the back pocket. He'll kick it long down the line. Pack will form. Langford from the back, Blakey from the side. No mark, it spills to ground. Blakey picks it up, feeds it out to Florent. His hand pass inboard to Warner, and now the Swans are queuing up. He gives it to Clark from the centre square, looking for Amadi at full forward. Had a couple to beat. Zirk Thatcher out the back for Essendon. Stripped to the footy by Wicks. Umpire said holding the ball. Great forward pressure from Sam Wicks, and he can line up from the top of the goal square.
I actually didn't think he tackled him. I just thought...
It's almost like just knocked it out of his hands, just to dispossess him.
So I'm not sure about that one, but again, good pressure. Got the ball back through the corridor. It was a contest here.
It's good clearance work, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
And then lining up in the corridor.
Able to get back to the corridor, shape it in there, and get that ball to the top of the square.
Sam Wicks pops through goal number 3. We're out to a new game-high lead, 19 points. Sydney Swans 10-5-65 to Essendon 7-4-46. 28 played second term grandstand AFL.
Yeah, late in the quarter, late in the half. Bombers just lost their structure a bit there at this sort of centre wing or half back stoppage, and it was Warner at the back of the stoppage. I think it was Florent. They had plenty of numbers free, the Swans, and allowed that quick entry. Amati drew the contest. Zerk Thatcher had to come over to support and quite get another look at that, but here we go now. Did he? So he took the tackle on. No, yeah, probably fair enough. Yeah, he sort of got through the first tackle, Zerk Thatcher, the Hayward tackle, and
just knocked out of his
not
hands.
Quite enough of a tackle, you think? Umpire was right there. He's having a good night, Wicks, isn't he?
Yeah, he's kicked through.
Both he and Amati.
Yeah,
they're
seven
having a
between them.
real night.
Second time in the game, Sydney have kicked 4 in a row. They've done it again here in red time of this second quarter. Parrish's hand pass, a turnover straight to Gordon. Kicks inside 50. Amati forces spoiled straight down to Heppel. He kicks off half bank for Essendon. Comes out wide, finds Sammy Durham. Feeds a hand pass onto Redmond. Redmond along the boundary line to Hind. He's out of room. Boundary throw in front of the interchange gates. Sydney by 19 points. They've kicked the last 4 goals. The big talking point of the quarter was Lance Franklin, who's been subbed out with a suspected calf injury early in this second term. So only 4 games left in the season. Questions will be asked as to whether this is the last time we see him on an AFL field, unfortunately lasting just over a quarter.
Ball back into play. Bryan against McLean in the ruck. Bryan couldn't take clean possession. Now Durham picks it up. He's tackled by McLean, dispossessed, holding the ball. Free kick to Hayden McLean on the logo broadcast wing.
Really dialed it up, haven't they, the last 10 minutes? You mentioned it, Boo, just Swans pressure. Really turned the tide in this game. They've dominated, really, the last 10 minutes.
Sydney by 19. McLean told to hurry up. He'll whack it towards half forward to a pack. It spills to Amani, who's done the roving from the outside of the boot. Lands in the pocket. Still alive for Sydney. Big contest between Warner and Redmond, who escorts him over the line, and we'll have a throw in 10 metres around from the Swans goal. They lead by 19.
.40 seconds left on the game clock as we tick towards half-time. Boundary throwing. It's a shallow one. Amati got there late. Knocked it down. Parker hits it to a dangerous spot. Top of the goal square. Merritt pushed in the back. He got a hand pass away, and McInerney landed on top of him after that.
He's had a big quarter, the skipper. What's he up to? I think he's up to 20 disposals, this will be.
He's had 11 in the quarter alone, so Zach Merritt moves it wide to Laverty, to Hines, short kick to Durham. It's a little untidy at the moment, the Bombers' ball use. Short kick inboard to Perkins. 32 minutes gone. Swans by 19. Perkins let the last of the clock bleed out as he chips it back to Hind. Hind's off and running. Takes on Clark. It'll be the last disposal of the half. As his kicks headed down to half forward, and that'll do us. Sydney by 19 points, a game high. And all eyes on Lance Franklin. He was about to walk back out with his team, and then he's been turned around, and the physio said, "Come with me," as he's sort of walked straight down the race. So the team will gather, and then Lance Franklin straight to the rooms. What did you see, Ian Cohen, from where you were?
Yeah, it was a very, very sad and disconsolate Buddy Franklin. He was manfully walking out to try and be with his team as they came in at half-time, but medical staff just turned him straight around and headed him straight down the race. So, it'll be a big discussion point regardless of whether the Swans win or not tonight. And what a magnificent champion he's been, if indeed this is the final time that we see him on the field.
Thanks, Koza. A 19-point lead for the Swans at half-time. They kicked the last 4 goals of the quarter. The goal kickers in the game, 4 for Amati, 3 for Sam Wicks, then 1 each for Warner, Heaney and McInerney. Meanwhile, for Essendon, Langford has 3, and then 1 for Caldwell, Perkins, Hind and Wright. The showdown over in Adelaide, a 21-point lead for the Crows over Port Adelaide. Wow. So still 7 minutes to go there before half-time.
Looked a couple of big injuries too, Corb. Looked like at one stage Lear was carted off. Was that right, Page? Yeah, collision, almost a bit of friendly fire with Young. Gone blank on his name.
Lockie Jones?
Lockie Jones, sorry. Yeah, Lockie Jones. And they were both taken off. So a bit of damage there for Port as well.
Travis Boak, the sub. So veterans for both teams, Sloan and Boak, the two subs, but Boak yet to be subbed into the game. So Adelaide by 21 there, 7 to go before half-time. Earlier today, Suns by 41 points over Brisbane. We've had upsets in the 4 completed games, the underdog winning each of them. Fremantle by 7 over Geelong, GWS by 5. Came from nearly 6 goals down to beat the Western Bulldogs in Ballarat. And, of course, last night, Carlton winners over Collingwood. The thoughts of our grandstand AFL experts at half-time. Sydney by 19 points. Luke Ball and Brendan Goddard.
Loving the contest, Beach. Yeah, loving the game here. High scoring, which we always like. And really even, right up until probably the last 10 minutes of that quarter where you just felt the Swans' pressure as, players get tired leading into half-time. Just started to take its toll on the Bombers, and they were able to control. As the Bombers did in that first quarter, at 20 inside 50s to 10, they were able to control field position. The Swans started to lift and get on top around the contests and the clearances. And as you'd expect, their gun players who had quiet first quarters, Parker started to get moving a bit. Warner, Gordon. I just love watching Errol Gordon play. What a star he's become. He's a running machine. He backs himself. He just makes stuff happen, doesn't he? It's not pretty at times, but just the way he constantly moves. He's always there, following up for the overlap handball. 2 or 3 times there, he was involved multiple times in a passage of play that directly resulted in a Swan score. So he's there. He's become their barometer in a lot of ways. I mean, Parker's their heart and soul sort of player. We know that. But Errol Gordon, what a star he's become. In fact, all the good players that come out to play tonight, which is good to see. Zach Merritt, we mentioned that quarter, got going. He's had 11 possessions. Caldwell, who was off to an absolute flyer, has 19, and Parrish started to get his hands on the ball a bit. But it was the Swans just a little bit sure with their kick mark game and their ability to move the ball, transition the ball from half-back to score. Even when, Franklin went off and they had to shuffle things around a little bit, Mills went forward, but it's meant that Amadi's been the man, hasn't it? It's been his show tonight, and he's really looked dangerous. They've been able to isolate really well. I've just watched a couple of times the Swans forwards. They really fly for the same ball. They're able to work together well to make sure they're not competing for the same ball. And if they haven't marked it, they've certainly brought it to ground, and that's brought players like Wicks into the game. And he's hit the scoreboard as well with 3 goals in the first half. So really, that half-time break, Beach, came at a pretty timely point for the Bombers because they were just holding up there against that last 10-minute sort of onslaught from the Swans, and in the end they very much earned their 3-goal advantage at half-time.
Yeah, well, I think it's your point for me. It's just Sydney's, you mentioned their uncontested mark, their kick-catch game, which I guess in a way really brought undone Essendon. Essendon dominating around clearances, contested possession, they're still in front, but it's just in general play, when Sydney got their hands on the ball, it wasn't slow by all means, but it was pretty calculated the way they were moving the ball, and it just really exposed Essendon's lack of team defence. So they're still running 62% efficiency going inside 50, Sydney. So
that's the difference in the game, isn't it?
That's a big number. I said that's hard to sustain after the first quarter, which was sitting at 60%. So they're really efficient, but that's the thing, that it's at the right times they're getting speed on the ball. They're building it up from half back, but they're getting good looks inside 50. So for me, Essendon just need to tighten up in their team defence and actually force or take the uncontested mark and uncontested chain off Sydney and force him in the long kick down the line, force him into a contest, which Essendon are winning. So their clearances, get the ball back into a clearance, get it out of bounds, force them, get numbers around the footy from that long kick and then win it from there, because Essendon are dominating that part of the game. So when they allow Sydney to have a free-flowing game and build it up by kick mark, they're just being exposed by their lack of team defence and, so, in a sense, their lack of ability to defend.
I feel like we've praised Essendon all year. Their back six has held up so well, and they've had to deal with, it's like the damn wall had to deal with a lot of pressure. But it feels like, and I know every team has injuries, but BG, take one of those guys out and it feels like it's catastrophic. When Laverty missed earlier in the year, it was they had a really difficult patch, and now it's Ridley.
Ridley's the all-star. He's the real class, isn't he? I mean, Laverty's a solid player.
Intercept marker. So,
but how difficult is it to replace one guy? Like, can it bring the whole thing undone by one guy missing?
I think if there's inexperience around that person, it can. Yeah, and we see that at Hawthorn with Sicily, don't we? I mean, that's an extreme. When he's not there, they are a completely different team, aren't they? A completely different back six. The Bombers certainly aren't at that level. We know that Laverty's become a really good defender himself. Zerk Thatcher's, developing key position player. and they've got some experience back there with Heppel. But Ridley's the one that reads it so well, that either comes off and marks it, doesn't he, and kicks it really well.
Well, he takes their third.
And he takes the third,
the third best. So without Laverty or Thatcher,
Cox is down there tonight.
Yeah, then Ridley's then forced to actually play as a key defender, which he's done a pretty good job in the past of doing that. He's actually done a couple of jobs on Buddy in the past, and a bigger power key forward. So when you got Laverty and Thatcher, you give those two the job. So they're already thin on actual size and proper key back in terms of size and strength and weight. And then when you take one of those out, it forces Ridley to play as a key defender, which he is their best intercept drop-off player and one of their best users out of defence. So it does wreck the mix a fair bit, and then they have to, I guess, panic a little bit with how do they replace a key defender to still trying to free up Ridley when he's there, and he's not there also. So now they've got Cox, an experienced guy who's played predominantly on a wing, and a great job he did in his first year. Hasn't played consistently in a long time, so he's probably stringing together about 4 or 5 weeks of footy in the space of a year and a half, and now he's a defender. So, just when you're already thin on key defenders and you take one of their best key defenders out, if this is making sense, then for Essendon, it does stretch them a lot.
I like the experiment of Cox, though. It sounds like Ridley's going to probably miss him up. I think he's a smart player. He's good in the area, so there's no reason why he can't play down there. He hasn't played a lot of footy this year, we know, and sometimes it can be tough, on the wing and the ball sort of going. So I like it. Put him behind the ball, let the game come to him, let him use his smarts, let him use his aerial ability, play that Ridley type role and learn, different skill.
The big story in that first half, apart from the high-quality footy, 7 lead changes, Sydney by 19 at half-time. Lance Franklin subbed out of the game, suspected calf injury. We talked all week about whether he's going to go on in 2024 or not, and unfortunately that conversation sort of lasted until about the 5-minute mark of the second quarter. He was running. It appears as if he's done his calf. I know there's a big difference between a calf strain and a calf tear, but in your experience,
is there?
In your experience in footy, what's a calf injury layoff, and particularly when you're 36 years of age?
Well, never did one in footy. I did one as a 36-year-old playing Wednesday night basketball, and that was a bad one. That was a pop, and that was a 6 to 8 week call with obviously very minimal sort of rehab work. But hopefully,
I don't know either.
Yeah.
I've had one kind of minor calf kind of thing, so I've got no experience.
If it's a decent one, we know that they're usually 4 to 6, and he's carrying around 110 kilos. So, look, there's no. I mean, it'll be the story, obviously, but fingers crossed, it's not the last time we've seen him.
Games against the Giants, the Suns, Adelaide, and then they do have a home game in round 24, which is just 4 weeks away.
He was looking good. He was
Melbourne.
moving well. We commented last week he was terrific, and sometimes it's too good to be true, isn't it? So, anyway, fingers crossed.
It's half-time. Sydney by 19 points. I'll give you a wrap on what's happened in footy elsewhere on the other side of the latest from the ABC newsroom. There's sport happening everywhere. The ABC Listen app is the place to find it, whether you want to follow along with the cricket, the Bledisloe Cup, which is on tonight, the NRL, the other game in the AFL. It's all there in one place through the ABC Listen app. I'll give you a wrap on all of it in just a moment, but first, the latest from the ABC newsroom.
ABC News with Satyam Weinstein. The ADF has grounded Australia's fleet of MRH-90 Taipan helicopters after a crash off North Queensland that's left 4 aircrew members missing. Laura Lavelle reports.
2 Australian Defence Force helicopters were engaging in a 2-chopper mission just off Hamilton Island in North Queensland off the coast of Mackay. One of those helicopters ditched down and disappeared. The other helicopter immediately began searching. The helicopter those 4 people were on, the MRH-90, also known as a Taipan, that fleet has now been temporarily grounded in the wake of this absolute tragedy. Search will pick up again in the morning. It's been confirmed that ADF divers have been called in to be part of the search and rescue operations. They'll be using sonar technology to help locate some of the wreckage.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has suggested his country won't stop pursuing WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange anytime soon. The 51-year-old Australian is fighting attempts to extradite him from Britain to the U.S., where he'll face espionage charges related to the publishing of tens of thousands of classified military and diplomatic documents. Foreign Minister Penny Wong says Australia is concerned the case has dragged on for far too long. But Mr. Blinken says Julian Assange put the security of the United States at significant risk.
So I say that only because just as we understand sensitivities here. It's important that our friends understand sensitivities in the United States.
Voting has closed in a by-election for the Western Australian seat of Rockingham, previously held by the former Premier, Mark McGowan. The electorate's considered a safest Labor seat in WA and has been held by the party since it was created in 1974. Labor is widely expected to retain the seat with its candidate, Magenta Marshall, but the party's 37% margin could swing towards Rockingham Deputy Mayor Hayley Edwards, who's running as an independent, or the Liberal candidate, 21-year-old Peter Hudson. The United States is warning the military in Niger that its financial support is at risk following a coup. The West African nation's considered a key Western ally in the fight against Islamist militants in the region. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says deposed President Mohamed Bazoum has Washington's unflagging support and funding is under threat. He says the economic and security partnership with Niger is significant, worth hundreds of millions of dollars, depends on the continuation of the democratic governance and constitutional order that's been disrupted by the actions of the past few days. Russian cruise missiles have hit a residential complex in a nearby security service building in one of Ukraine's central cities. Chelsea Hetherington has more.
Officials in Dnipro say it's the third time the security service building in the city has been targeted. Part of a residential complex has also been reduced to rubble and debris strewn across a large courtyard. Both structures were largely empty, the residential building because it had just been completed and units were being put up for sale. Several people have been injured, but there have been no reported fatalities. Russia's forces have intensified evening and nighttime missile attacks on a variety of targets, but says it does not target civilian sites.
The US has announced more than $500 million in military aid for Taiwan. The White House says the package will include defense, education and training. US politicians have been pressuring the Pentagon and White House to send weapons to Taiwan to help it counter China's growing assertiveness. China claims democratic Taiwan as its own territory. Republican presidential rivals Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis have appeared at the same event for the first time in the 2024 White House race. Their joint appearance in the state of Iowa comes just a day after Mr. Trump faced fresh criminal charges. He's been relentlessly attacking Mr. DeSantis, his nearest rival for the Republican nomination. The Anti-Defamation Commission is calling on the Victorian government to strengthen laws against Nazism after an anti-Semitic handbill was distributed in Melbourne's Inner East. Victorian and federal police are investigating the document, which included a doctored image of independent federal MPs Monique Ryan and Zoe Daniel, with a Nazi salute and a photo of Adolf Hitler. Nazi hate symbols are banned in Victoria, but Dr. Davir Abramovich says the government should consider outlawing the glorification of Nazism more broadly.
And I think not just law enforcement, but every elected official and representative needs to declare in a loud voice that this cannot stand, that we will push back against this cancer of intolerance.
You're up to date with ABC News.
ABC Listen.
A lot of us want to know exactly how a major Silicon Valley bank could have failed, how a former comedy star is holding off a nuclear superpower, and how did a country a lot like Australia end up with 100% inflation. I'm Matt Bevan. Join me for a new season of my podcast, If You're Listening, helping you make sense of major news events shaping our world with new episodes weekly. If You're Listening. Hear it now on the ABC Listen app.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Wellview's marked on the logo in front of Blakey. He shoots it to centre half forward, where Hobbs is marked just outside 50. Can turn around and spot Langford at the top of the square. The Bombers go coast to coast. Langford completes the team play with goal number 3.
Buddy Franklin out of the game. He's sitting in the back row. He's just been subbed out. We believe he's mouthed the word calf. What have you done? Calf, it looks like. But we're still waiting for confirmation from the club.
Kicks to the top of the goal square, Papley. Logan McDonald, the target, spills to Wicks. Head pass to Warner. Warner hooks it through. Knocks it all up again. It's a long kick from Heppel up to the wing. Spills down to Warner. Took on the tackle. Got a hand pass away to Papley. Look away, handball to Florin. Gets through traffic, kicks inboard, superb. McInerney marks. Back in the corridor, 30 metres out. McInerney trots in here. Lead change number 7. drives it straight through.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Sydney pulling away on the back end of that second term. So after scores were level at the 15-minute mark, the Swans kicked the last 4 goals of the quarter. They lead by 19 points at half-time. Sydney 10-5-65 over Essendon 7-4-46. Corbin Middlemass and Jess Webster calling the footy. Ian Cohen on the boundary, and our grandstand AFL experts Luke Ball and Brendan Goddard. It's half-time, by the way, between Adelaide and Port. It is the Crows. 8-8-56. They lead Port Adelaide 4-3-27. You mentioned that incident, Bally, between Lockie Jones and Aaliyah. Both players sort of were motionless for a few seconds on the turf after the incident. Aaliyah came straight back on the ground without the concussion test. Rod Jamieson, who's working the game for the ABC tonight, mentioned that it'll be heavily scrutinised by the AFL, which I'm sure it will be. So the protocol's now being followed with Aaliyah and Lockie Jones.
He looked like he was concussed before he hit the ground. So
okay, let's have a look. Here we go.
So came off the ground, went back on without having spent the 15 minutes and done the proper protocol. Yeah, he sort of had this. He went down like a baby giraffe, didn't he, with the sprawled legs, and that
His limp.
Not a good incident for either guy. So now the proper protocols are being followed, but that'll be one to watch big time during the week. Meanwhile, an injury for Jordan Butts. So he's been subbed out with an ankle injury. Rory Sloane into the game for the Crows, but the scoreline is eye-popping as well. 29-point lead for the Crows. As this weird and wacky round 20 continues where the underdogs have won.
It shows it is. It's such a marathon, isn't it? Just when you think that you've got everything worked out, one injury or
your ladder predictors.
Yeah, tear that up. Yeah, still months to go.
Footy would be boring if it was predictable,
That's right.
wouldn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
The cricket, England off to a flyer, unfortunately. So 12 overs in. No wicket for 59. So they lead by 47 runs, or 48 runs now, none for 60. On the morning of day 3, so you can follow along through the ABC Listen app. Look out for the red cricket button. And the Bledisloe Cup, Australia actually led for large periods of the first half, but at half-time it's the All Blacks scoring a converted try late, 19 over Australia 7. So that's at the MCG tonight, the All Blacks 19-7 leading the Wallabies. And in the FIFA Women's World Cup, the news today, Sam Kerr has declared herself available, ready to play for the Matildas.
Thank goodness.
Rolling the dice.
On Monday night.
Has to. Yep. Worth a crack.
Up against Canada. So
didn't Eddie Jones say that 85,000 people will be in for a bit of a shock? Is that the quote?
It's
85,000 New Zealanders or Kiwis would be in for a bit of a shock.
They're going to have to do it from behind. So half-time, 12 points down. Second half almost upon us. In the NRL, second half action between the Panthers and the Sharks, it's all Penrith. The two-time reigning champs lead at 22-0 over Cronulla. Players back out on their starting positions. Lance Franklin, a suspected calf injury, subbed out early in the second term here. Ian Cohen is on the boundary. Koza.
Yes, well, fingers crossed. The club is saying it is calf tightness. So, fingers crossed, but obviously he was very disappointed when he came off. Calf tightness, I don't know, the boys in the back row will know if that's 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but whatever it is, there maybe is a glimmer of hope for Buddy.
Swans by 19 points. Third quarter action on Grandstand AFL. You're with Jess Webster.
So good second quarter to Sydney. What can the Bombers produce? Phillips wins the first half of the second half, straight down to Parrish, who bangs it inside forward 50. Langford has 3 to beat. It goes to ground. Swans have the numbers. Blakey to Lloyd on the last line of defence. Can clear it. That's a lovely kick. Finds Heaney at right half back, who's quick to hand pass it off to Mills. Spears the kick down the line to Hayward. Traps it on the wing. Hand passes defensively to Wicks. He goes backwards to Heaney. The fend off. And then hand passes backwards to Cunningham. Kicks down the line. Parker works his way to front position.
Luke Parker. Quiet first half by his standards. Kicks inside the forward 50. Zerk Thatcher and Amati. Amati trying to rip it from the back. No mark. Falls down to Laverty under pressure. Hot handball to Parrish. And now Amati tackling him. Doing it both with the ball and without. And a ball up centre half forward here for the Swans. Kicking appropriately to the Lockett end to start the third term. From the restart, Phillips down to Kelly. Kick smothered. Falls to McDonald. Look away. Hand pass to Rowbottom. Trying to move it on. Goulden collects. Breaks the Merritt tackle. Breaks the Laverty one. Snaps it through. What a superstar he is. Errol Gordon. His star continues to rise. 2 broken tackles and snaps it through. Sydney out by 25 points. 11-5-71 to Essendon, 7-4-46. A minute into this third term.
No, I'm happy with that call. No hyperbole there. He is a young superstar of this game. Just week in, week out. That's what's so impressive about him. And it's just work rate. There's no secret to it.
No, he's
just really smart.
He's got a bit of class about it too. Just added on top of that, right?
Yeah. It's a beautiful kick. We know that. That was his strength, wasn't it? So brushes off one, brushes off Laverde, gets around McGrath, who needed to be a bit stronger there. Beautiful hook back over his left foot. Perfect start.
That'll come up in the review, won't it? Zachy Merritt rarely misses a tackle, but then compounding the issue of one, Laverde misses one. So wrap one of those up and he's not able to get a shot on goal.
Back in the middle, Phillips wins the tap, but straight down to Goulden, the goal kicker. Hooks the kick around to centre-half forward. It's off hands. Picked up by Wicks, who gives it to Parker from centre-half forward. Kick inside the arc is a good one and finds Heaney. The juggled attempt and reels it in, 40 from home.
Just a class, isn't it now? So Goulden again. Parker then, who's really slow start, just starting to get going a bit. And made it tough, didn't he, for Isaac Heaney, but he's looked pretty sharp tonight too from the first quarter. So this could be a double blow. Start the second quarter, catch the Bombers napping.
The Swans with the last 5 goals of the game. Isaac Heaney has one in the first quarter, lets it fly from 45, and it's straight over the goal umpire's hat. Heaney's got a couple, and this lead is now blown out beyond 5 goals. Sydney by 31, 12-5-77 to Essendon, 7-4-46. 3 minutes played, third term Grandson AFL, Luke Ball and Brennan Goddard, your experts.
From the first bounce of this third quarter, Sydney thought they were on. They looked sharp, ready to go. Kind of continuing on where they left in the second quarter, but you mentioned that they're more senior players, experienced. Parker now touching the ball a number of times there. Young superstar and Errol Goulden hitting the scoreboard, and then Isaac Heaney, he's got his hands on a number of times this quarter already. So Essendon just need to respond here, and they're not going to win the momentum back in a couple of minutes. They just got to get on an even keel, stop the momentum of Sydney, and then try and get it going towards their way. So when it starts around the ball, get the pressure back around the ball from the midfielders in particular.
Back in the middle as Parker ends up with a footy, but behind that, Gordon was caught and dispossessed, so free kick going to go Essendon's way as Caldwell lays it off by hand to McGrath. Long kick inside 50. Blakey climbs. No mark. Bounces through to Rampy. Hand pass back to Blakey. Spun around. Coughs it up. Hand pass to Langford. Hooks his kick to the top of the goal square. They all climb for it. No mark. Spills down to Rowbottom, who's already on his backside. He was taken high as Merritt shoots goalward. Free kick for Rowbottom. The Bombers winning in all the sort of key numbers with contested possessions, clearances inside 50s, but as the boys touched on, the efficiency from Sydney. So 17 scoring shots from 28 entries.
Yeah, it's good going, isn't it? There's been some really clean stuff too, hasn't it? I mean, there's been some good contested work with Amadi, obviously, and Wicks getting involved, but sometimes they've just been too clean, too classy for this Bombers defence.
Rowbottom short to Lloyd, who kicks short to Blakey, still inside defensive 50. Sydney by 31. It's Blakey now, kicks short to Goulden, who's having some sort of game. He gives it back to Blakey, who can run off half back. He's had a couple of bounces. He approaches halfway. Hand passes to Campbell, running adjacent to the interchange gates. Kicks up towards half forward. Amadi in a one-on-one. Couldn't complete the mark. Almost. Spills to Hine, who hacks it out of the danger zone, but it's coming back as McInerney takes the intercepting grab. Hand passes off to Blakey from left half forward. Hugged up against the boundary line. And his kick is found. McLean just inside forward 50. Did he mean that?
Not deliberate, no.
A bit of a shank, but again, just making the play, aren't they? They've got energy on the ball.
Yeah,
Blakey involved here at half-back. Goulden again, Campbell. They are, at their best, a good kicking team, aren't they, with those left-footers, with Blakey and Campbell, Goulden in particular. That one we'll put down to a bit of luck, but they're making their luck at the moment, the Swans, with the way they're moving the ball.
Everything seems to be going Sydney's way as Hayden McLean from just inside 50 slams it into the post. It's all Sydney at the moment. Their lead is 32. 12-6-78 to the Bombers, 7-4-46. 6 minutes played, third term on Grandson AFL.
Redmond goes short to McGrath. McGrath now trying to play on and trying to get something moving for Essendon. Kicks to Perkins, who marks on the wing. Here's the little bit of overlap. Run and hand pass. The hand pass received from Hind. Kicks across the back edge of the square to Heppel. Pokes the pass to Merritt. And the skipper's got it. Just forward of halfway. He's got a runner on his outside. He uses him. Hand pass to Zerk Thatcher. Short kick to Caldwell. Marks on the 50. Turns. Looks at the goals. Caldwell on the run. Misses. Near side and behind. 7-5 to 12-6 at Sydney by 31 points. 7 gone second term. Swans have kicked the last 6 goals in the game.
No finish, but that was lovely ball movement from the Bombers.
Lloyd with the kick into Parker to McLean at half back. Search and kick towards half forward. Hayward and Heppel in the one-on-one. It gets out the back to Laverty, who's tackled by Hayward. Ball spills to Heppel, close up against the boundary line, sends it long down the line. Phillips from behind. Couldn't complete the mark. McGrath has a go. Now it comes up Sydney's way to Warner. Sweeping hand pass to Goulden, all alone in the centre square. Has time to measure a pass into the pocket, looking for Hayward. Knocked away from him. Papley's there. Has some room to move. Hand passes backwards to Wicks. Back to Papley. Gets on the left. And slams home another to the Swans. 7 goals in a row to Sydney. The lead is 37, 13-6, 84, plays 7-5-47. 8 minutes played, third term, Grandson AFL, Luke Ball and Brendan Goddard.
Well, it's pretty slick, isn't it, Paulie? That ball movement you've highlighted at the start of this third term, but it's just Essendon's lack of ability just to slow them down and to get it back. And the play before, that was a good bit of play. They had to make it up essentially down the way. There's a couple of errors. Essendon got their hands back on it. But the one before that, again, winning it deep in defence, Sydney forced it in a slow play, and then they're able to just get speed on the ball, find uncontested marks, and then, yes, a bit of luck with Blakey's inside 50. I'm pedalling back here a little bit, but it's just a trend. It's just the inability from Essendon to defend, but they're showing some really good signs, Essendon offensively, but they just need to find that balance between offence and defence and able to get the ball back off Sydney as quick as they can.
Exact same scoring pattern as last week. Essendon kicking 3 of the first 4 against the Bulldogs. And then the Dogs kicked 12 of the next 16, 12 goals to 4. The same thing's happened tonight. Ballooned out to 40 points last week. It's at 37 at the moment, Sydney's way. It feels like a match-winning lead. The Bombers need something dramatic to happen. 9-minute mark of the third term. Back in the middle. Merritt squeezes a kick in the middle of the ground. Clark has it for the Swans. Hand pass to Warner. He's held up in the middle.
You're going to find ways just to stem the bleeding as well. So it mightn't be just to continue to go helter-skelter. It might be a bit of kick mark just to get your hands back in the ball. Actually make Sydney defend for 4 or 5 minutes and actually wear them out a bit, tire them out.
Hobbs with the clearance, kicks the centre half forward. Wright can't win it, but paddles it to the advantage of Perkins. Lays it up, top of the goal square. Langford with a one-on-one to win. Rampy knocks it away from him. Guelphy's at the drop. Sharp hand pass to Nick Martin. Snaps. He kicks it. 1 back for the Bombers. And he stops the run of 7 consecutive Sydney goals. Essendon with their 8th of the night. 8-5-53, Sydney 13-6-84. Swans lead back to 31, 10 gone third term.
There was nothing fancy about that, Beej. You're right, just win the contest and get a deep ball forward to one-on-ones, bring the ball to ground. Nick Martin, he's just got an uncanny ability to find himself in space at both ends of the ground, doesn't he? We know he's got he plays that wing role really well, gets back to support, but so often, I think he averages a goal a game. He's just able to bob up inside 50, or looking down, looks like he's actually starting or playing forward at the moment, but really smart player, and once again found himself in way too much space from a Swans point of view. For a guy of that quality, he's never going to miss that. So they get 1 back, much needed goal. Let's see if they can put 2 together here.
Swans by 31. Kicked 7 in a row before that last goal to Martin. Back in the middle we go. Caldwell was caught high. Advantage will be paid. Hand pass to Merritt, to Hobbs from the centre square. Spearing ball to Wright. Just had a little bit too much on it for him. At the back is McCartan for the Swans. Hand pass to Mills at left half back. Kick down the line is pinpoint. Finds Heaney. Defensive side of halfway.
They've done that really well, the Swans. Before the drop of the ball in their defensive 50. This experienced players back down there, they've been able to find a mark just to get themselves out of pressure.
Heaney short to Goulden. He's putting together some sort of game. He kicks short to Campbell, who's marked in front of the interchange gates, and he also kicks short to Parker. Now he chips it over the top to Heaney. Good defensive pressure from Cox. Wins the footy at ground level. Gives it to Hobbs. Hand pass inboard to Merritt. Now to Davey. Gets out of troubles. Wobbles a kick down the line. McCartan in front position. Hand pass to Florent. To Rampy. Still close up against the boundary line. He's turned it over to Menzies. He keeps it alive to Perkins, who spun the 360. Caught twice. Holding the ball. First Blakey. And then Rampy, who wins the free kick and chips inboard to Warner. Kick didn't have much on it. It spills Essendon's way to Martin, who kicks inside forward 50. Langford's gotten out the back and kicks through another. His fourth, and it's back-to-back goals to Essendon. Margin cut to 25. Sydney 13-684 to Essendon 9-5-59. 12 played third term Grandson AFL.
Just sloppy, wasn't it, from the Swans there? He had a couple of opportunities here on the wing when they were pushing forward. I think it was Heaney who took the foot off the gas and allowed Cox to come in and spoil the ball, and then here with that kick inside, and they were queuing up. If they had got that one, they were on an open space, and they could have launched the ball forward from there, but just the kick didn't hit the target and allowed the pressure in, and I think it was Martin again, wasn't he, affecting the tackle?
Yep.
And the kick forward.
It's just Rampy's poor kick, but you must admit that probably the last 2 minutes, Essendon's intensity just around the ball, around the contest here, just in front of us, was a lot more intense than it had been the first 6 or 7 minutes. So, but Sydney just coughing it up, just giving them just a little bit of opportunity, a little bit of a window to get back in the game.
The crowd trying to get involved. Marty thrown in the ruck, quick kick forward as he grabs it out the middle, but Hind chops it off. Kick in the middle of the ground for Hobbs. Brad Scott mentioned his young players looking a little weary last week at a season low 12 touches. This kick superb. Hits Perkins. And his fellow young gun takes the mark left half forward for Essendon. He'll kick on that channel left half forward from about 45 out.
It's a classic game of momentum, this, isn't it? Just look at all the Swans first.
It's happening
6
quick
to 8
too.
minutes,
I just mentioned that they just try and get it back and go into a bit of kick catch, but just keep the foot on the pedal. Just kick 3 in about 4 minutes and you've got the momentum, don't you?
Swans kick 7 in a row either side of half time to make it 3 on the bounce for the Bombers. His kick lands short, doesn't even cross the goal line. Pack forms in the goal square. They're going to pay the mark.
No, got a point. Yep.
Oh no, it's gone through.
Hit the post.
Corby's getting excited.
I think it was a Sydney player even with the footy, but minor score behind offhands. Sydney by 24 points. All of a sudden, I think I said almost league safe, but came back on. 14 gone third term, Sydney by 24.
And Lloyd with the kick in for Sydney. Just barrels it to the wing, to a pack, off hands. McDonald pirouettes out of trouble. Got the hand pass away, but couldn't find a target. Goulden fighting hard for it. His sweeping hand pass just for territory in the end, but Cox is there for the Bombers. For the Bombers. He's brought to ground by Wicks. Ball up centre wing broadcast side.
Hand pass is generous, I think. Not sure how much closed fist you got on that ball, Errol.
From the stoppage, Brian palms it down to Parrish, gets boot to ball to Martin. Hand passes inboard to Hind, who has some room to move, has a bounce. Hand pass over the top, wasn't great looking for Menzies, picked up by Campbell of Sydney. Hand passes to Fox, his hand pass to Blakey. Releases it by hand back to Fox, kicks up towards half forward. Great mark, back with a flight by Nick Cox for Essendon inside defensive 50.
Training defence during the week, obviously down there in the absence of Ridley. The other one is Sam Wiedemann, who's been in the VFL playing down back. After his goalless run up front, back in the twos. Kick comes out wide to Heppel against the boundary line. He goes long to Peter Wright, thumped away from him by McCartan. Into the lap of Parker, tries to usher it out, but coughs it straight up. Parrish for the Bombers. Kicks down to half forward again. Rampy knocks it away from Phillips. Loose footy, high half forward for the Dons. Guelphy picks it up. High bomb inside the forward 50. Underneath it, right and flying through McInerney. Takes the intercept mark and he's off.
Kicks straight up the corridor and hits Papley defensive side of the centre circles. He wants to kick it out wide. Land in front of Goulden. Wicks, in fact, who hand passes back to Lloyd. Gives it back to Wicks. His hand pass over the head of Lloyd. Has time to regather. Hand passes to Florent. Now back to Goulden. Just sharing it around half back. Now Sydney. Goulden goes to Blakey, who then kicks it to Goulden, who's marked defensive side of halfway. Chips it on the 45 and finds Florent on the logo broadcast wing.
It's amazing watching Errol Gordon live, just the way he sort of zips around and the speed that he moves at.
Well, who did I liken him to back in the day? He's playing tonight. Come on, mate.
Merritt.
Yeah.
That same
There's
kind
a
of
lot of
thing.
similar traits.
Gee, just big collision on the wing. Apologies as Durham takes out the legs of Warner inadvertently. They both hit the deck hard. All okay. Pack forms behind them. Essendon have lifted. They got a ball up in front of the benches. Sydney by 24.
So I think Errol's got a bigger tank than Zachy, respectfully, but it is so similar in general play, aren't they? Just so agile, quick, shift with it so good, use it so well.
Rowbottom clears it from the stoppage, 2-on-1 favouring the Bombers. Hayward at ground level, he's tackled by Heppel, gets a hand pass out to Clark. Dinky little kick inside forward 50. McDonald sockers it off the deck. Live ball inside 50 for the Swans. Campbell will get there first. Hine on the last line of defence. Hand passes to Kelly, loops it over the top to Davies, run into a brick wall. Rowbottom and Campbell got him. Stoppage, 20 out from Sydney's goal.
Probably could have taken it through Nick Hine. They did have an extra number there. That loopy handball, though. Who was that? Jake Kelly. Just here. Have that, young Elwyn.
Nick Ryan wins it down and then follows up, gets the clearance out to half-back. Menzies had it, lost it in the Fox tackle. Picking it up, Warner runs straight into traffic. Still feeds a hand pass out. In fact, Warner was taken high. He's going to get the footy.
He's taken a few big hits today, Chad Warner, hasn't he?
Warner into the pocket, hits up Logan McDonald, takes the sprawling mark. And he's got it. And he'll have a look here to try and turn momentum. Essendon kicking the last 2 goals after Sydney kicked the previous 7. 18 gone, third term. Swans by 24. Meanwhile, in the showdown, it's Adelaide by 24 points as well. Same margin. 16 minutes to go in the third there. They're again tracking about 20 minutes behind us at Docklands. Big kick for Logan McDonald. He moves in. His drop punt is superb. A momentum shifter. The Swans just hold any kind of Essendon run they were trying to get going. Back to a 5-goal lead for Sydney. 14-6-90. Essendon 9-6-60. 19 gone, third term.
It's a big goal, isn't it? Nice finish. I know he doesn't get a lot of the footy, but that's a young player recognising the moment that momentum was against them a bit. Smart little kick from Chad Warner, who's just getting better as the game goes on. It's that 12th mark inside, 13th mark rather, inside 50 for the Swans. We've spoken about just how efficient they've been. The Swans have still had 13 more inside 50s. Yet the Bombers have rather. Yeah, the Swans are going at 65% against 35%. So really, that's the game, as we spoke about at half time. And unfortunately, with the Bombers, with the gap now, there's not a lot of margin for error, is there? They need everything to go right.
Swans by 30, back in the middle. Phillips with the tap down to Hobbs. Throws it on the boot. Kicks to full forward. Here comes Wright. The fist came from McCartan. Spills to Fox, who's tackled by Langford. Ball locked to his chest. Umpire says, I'll have it. Ball up 30 out from the Bombers' goal. So 7 goals in a row either side of half-time to Sydney. Opened up a 37-point lead. Couple in a row to the Bombers. Sydney with the last. Margins 30 from the stoppage. Guelphy feeds it to Parrish. Hooks it around the corner to the top of the square. But Campbell takes the intercepting grab for the Swans.
Comes out wide with it. Florent, the target, takes the mark. 2 Bombers converging on him in Menzies and Durham. 5-goal lead for Sydney. As just mentioned, 20 gone, third term. Short kick from Florent to Fox. It was probably their best on grand final day last year, along with Warner. Team well beaten. Kicks down the wing. Heaney looking for the juggled mark. He's got it. And now trying to entangle himself from Nick Hind, who gets up to stand the mark. Heaney pokes it out to Parker, just over his head. Parker collects. Merritt came and got him. Huge chase down tackle from the skipper. And Merritt, the number 1 tackler at the club, wins it again. Half-back for Essendon. They're chasing the game at Sydney by 30 points. 21 gone in the third.
Merritt chips it to Hind. It's marked just short of halfway. Sydney by 30. Essendon need to get a wriggle on. Hind gets around Mills on the mark, runs inboard, has a bounce, wants to take them on from the logo broadcast wing, kicks Essendon into attack. Wright came from behind, made a contest. Davey at ground level, had a fumble, then regathered. His hand pass missed Perkins, is picked up by McInerney of the Swans to Rampy, to Warner. Now to Rowbottom. Whistle on play, free kick I think for a hold. I think it might be Warner's free kick, and play on is the call, so he takes off. No one stood the mark. Warner, as easy as you like, up towards half forward. And Hayward with a wonderful juggling mark. He's got it at left half forward. 2 kicks from goal. Chips it inboard to Lloyd, who's standing all alone at centre half forward, just inside the centre square. And kicks it out wide to Cunningham. And then chips it inboard to Campbell, who's marked 45 out from goal, slight angle left of right of centre. Ian Cohen on the boundary.
Will Snelling has now got the T-shirt off and the GPS has gone into the back of the jumper. We're just working out who indeed he is going to replace.
Thanks, Ian.
The
Keep us updated.
Young Elwyn Davey running off.
Brian.
I'm not sure I'd be taking him off. He's one that's looked like he's had a bit of spark, but again, too easy, wasn't it, Beach? Just that uncontested marking their way to a shot on goal.
Braden Campbell from 55 gives it an absolute roost right to the line. It's away to the left for a minor. Sydney by 31, 14-7-91 to Essendon 9-6-60. 22 played third term Grandson AFL. Ian Cohen on the boundary.
As Luke Ball identified, Elwyn Davey was the man making his way off, and he's now in the back row.
Sydney making their sub early in the second term. Lance Franklin out of the game, suspected calf injury, and obviously the ramifications that'll follow as Merritt goes on a run, kicks to Wright, who lays it off by hand to Hobbs. He's crunched. Heavy tackle from Papley. Ball spits out. Hand pass away from Fox. Got it to Florent. Tumbles a kick down the wing. McInerney knocks it on for Sydney. Out into the path of Laverty. He taps it away to Martin. Short kick inboard, and Merritt will have another go. Defensive side of the wing. Swans by 31, 23 gone in the third.
Merritt's aggressive kick to half forward through the hands of Perkins, but he follows up at ground level, gives it to Hobbs from 51. Wright's marked. He's about 3 metres out. And about a 45-degree angle to the right. Should make no mistake from here.
Well, it was a brave kick. Nick Martin just had the opportunity to go down the line and change angle with his legs, and then found Zachy Merritt, and was again brave kick to Archie Perkins, arguably short to a 50-50 into centre half forward, but managed to win the ground ball and then give it off to Hobbs and just open up the whole game. And 2 metre Peter out the back.
Right, needed to kick it, and he does. He's got 2, and the Bombers are hanging around. Margin is 25. Sydney 14-7-91 to Essendon 10-6-66. 25 played third term on Grandson AFL. Your experts are Brendan Goddard and Luke Ball.
Yeah, it was high risk but high reward footy from the Bombers, and we know that they'll have to play a bit of that, and the Swans need to be alert to that too. Again, probably too much space from their point of view in the corridor there. Merritt's certainly having an influence on this game. Well, yeah, they're close enough. There's no doubt about that. If they can pinch one more before three-quarter time, go in with the head of steam. They've certainly had the dominance at the centre bounce, or clearances in general, haven't they? Certainly in the ruck department, with these 2 more notable rucks from the Bombers up against the part-timers in McLean and Amati. So let's see if they can capitalise on that here.
25 gone third term. Margin back to 25 Sydney's way. And Peter Wright with a couple. In his 50th game as a Bomber, of course, after starting his career up on the glitter strip with the Suns. So the umpire circles a long time, and then in the end says, I'll have it, as there's a pack which forms at the feet of the ruckman. Up it goes again. Middle of Docklands. A few more players around the footy. Brian wins the hit out. Campbell grabs it, and he's tackled by Nick Martin, taken to ground, and will do it for a third time. The showdown, by the way, Adelaide by 23, halfway through the third term. A goal for Connor Rosie. They need to make up a bit of ground. Port Adelaide there. Back in the middle. Sydney knock it forward, but Essendon get a clean possession. Hind away to Caldwell by hand. Off to Redmond. He's off and running, the Red Dog. Logo out a wing. Hand pass forward to Snelling. Fresh on the ground. Taps it out in front of Fox. He's tackled. Got it. Lost it. Florent tackled, dispossessed. Guelphy is rewarded. High half forward for Essendon. They get the free kick. They're going inside 50 again.
Margins 25 as Guelphy winds up and kicks it to a dangerous position. Heppel from the back. Couldn't complete the mark. Menzies at ground level. Jams it on the boot towards full forward right. Had a bit of work to do to come from behind. Got it to ground. Rampy was dispossessed. Umpire said play on. Ball alive. Right forward pocket for Essendon. Kelly's there. And lays a tackle and forces the ball over the line for a throw in. 20 around from the Bombers' goal. Sydney by 25.
Sorry, Jess, right in front of the cheer squad there. Had about 150 umpires in that front row, didn't they?
Corbs wasn't happy with the call either way.
I thought they made better holding the ball call. Boundary throw in. Bryan hooks it down behind to Caldwell. Shoots goalward across the goal face, and Mills standing in front of the behind post takes an easy mark.
Swans just looking a bit gassed now. They did a lot of work early in this quarter. Can they just shut it down this last 2 minutes?
Sydney by 25. 27 gone third term. Mills long down the line. Redmond flying for the footy. No mark. Spills to Campbell front and centre for Sydney. Hand pass away to Rowbottom. Gives it to Florent. Surge kick up over halfway. Merits at the drop. Can reload for Essendon.
Looking to the corridor. Elects to just chip it short to Hind, who has some room to move on the wing. Low kick finds Snelling inside the centre square. The sub. Bombers fans want 50 for encroachment on the mark. Nothing doing as Snelling goes inside forward 50 to right, who's dropped the mark. Was served on a platter and couldn't complete it. It spills to Campbell of Sydney. Goes backwards to Cunningham, who hooks the kick around the corner, and Goulden's marked at right half back, coming up for disposal number 27.
Gee, that's a let-off. Oof. I quickly looked at the showdown screen. I thought that was just a given. I thought he'd had it, Peter Wright. Not to be.
So that sort of night, I reckon. Big Pete.
Looked likely, but just hasn't quite got his hands on the ball as much as we thought he would have.
Goulden down the wing, finds Rowbottom, hand pass to Clark, releases Heaney, off and running from the 50, kicks for Hayward, one-on-one. Heppel trying to spoil, skims up his knuckles. Here's Jake Kelly under pressure, kicks for the boundary line. It's got to be deliberate. It is. Free kick for McInerney. And Sydney will get it 60 out, half forward. Now it's the Swans trying to score late in the quarter. He can lay it up, top of the goal square. Heaney flies, Bryan kills it. Punches it away from the back down to Heppel. Hand pass away to Snelling. Under pressure, high floater. Blakey chases it. Caldwell courageous. No mark, but Essendon work it out. The kick from Menzies off the back flank.
Over the head of Wright and spills over the line for a boundary throw in front of the interchange gates.
Oh, they got lucky. Isaac Heaney, I thought he should have hit Tom Papley. It was an easy lead-up kick. Running into that 450, that last entry. He tried the tougher kick to Hayward, but Tom Papley should have been having a shot at goal. Got away with one there, the Bombers.
Sydney by 25 late in this third term. The next goal to the Bombers will be huge. From the ball in, Parrish fighting for it at ground level. Picked up by Merritt. His hand pass looking for Caldwell. Didn't hit the target. Picked up by McInerney of Sydney. Gives it to McLean. Quick kick under pressure down the line. Almighty in a one-on-one. Ball gets out the back. Hind and Papley collide. Ball close to the line. Kept alive by Kelly, who gives it to Bryan. He chips it inboard to Merritt. There's time if they're good enough. There's no time. The siren beats the last surge to Essendon. But this game is alive at three-quarter time. It is Sydney by 25, 14-7-91. Plays Essendon 10-6-66. Your goal kickers for Sydney. Amati has 4. Wicks has 3. 2 to Heaney and singles to Warner, McDonald, Papley and Goulden and McInerney. And for the Bombers, 4 to Langford, 2 to Peter Wright and singles to Caldwell, Perkins, Hind and Martin.
Jess Webster alongside myself, Corbin Middlemassey and Cohen on the boundary, and the thoughts of our grandstand AFL experts coming up in just a moment. It is three-quarter time here, Sydney by 25 in the showdown. 8.5 to go before three-quarter time. Port have closed the gap to 23, so Adelaide by 23 points there, third quarter, 8 to go before the break. On ABC Radio, News Radio and Sport Digital, this is Grandstand AFL.
Hi, this is Craig Rucastle. I'd love you to join me to continue the war on waste. I'll be doing some investigating to find out where our waste is coming from.
Half a ton of food. Chuck it out.
And sharing some practical tips on the little, big and somewhere in the middle things that you can do to reduce your waste and protect our planet.
Are you up for the challenge?
Join me for Season 3 of The War on Waste. 8:30 Tuesday nights on ABC TV and streaming on ABC iView.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Phillips down to Kelly, kick smothered, falls to McDonald, look away, hand pass to Rowbottom, trying to move it on, Goulden collects, breaks the Merritt tackle, breaks the Laverty one, snaps it through! What a superstar he is! Errol Goulden.
Goulden all alone in the centre square. Has time to measure a pass into the pocket looking for Hayward. Knocked away from him. Papley's there. Has some room to move. Hand passes backwards to Wicks. Back to Papley. Gets on the left. And slams home another to the Swans.
Perkins lays it up top of the goal square. Langford with a one-on-one to win. Rampy knocks it away from him. Guelphy's at the drop. Sharp hand pass to Nick Martin. Snaps. He kicks it. One back for the Bombers.
Rampy, who wins the free kick and chips in forward to Warner. Kick didn't have much on it. It spills Essendon's way to Martin, who kicks inside forward 50. Langford's gotten out the back and kicks through another.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
The SMS 0437 774 774. No name, but no TV coverage in Darwin. Thankfully, ABC Radio is loud and clear. Bonus, it's still 28 degrees. Oh, that's a little bit envious. The weather actually hasn't been too bad in Melbourne in recent days. We shouldn't complain too much. 0437 774 774. The sport happening elsewhere. First of all, the Bledisloe, 55 minutes in. So second half action. Still the All Blacks 19, Wallabies 7. In the showdown, it is Adelaide by 22 points. 6.5 to go before three-quarter time. And in the cricket, you can find all this, by the way, on the ABC Listen app. For the cricket, look out for the red cricket ball. England 1 for 80. Stokes is in at first drop. Crawley's 34, not out. Ben Duckett, the man out. Caught Carey Boldstark for 42. Three-quarter time here at Dockland. Swans by 25. Brendan Goddard, Luke Ball.
There was a interesting quarter, wasn't it? It was Sydney all early. First 10 minutes came out of the blocks. It looked like the game was beyond Essendon, and then talking about ways in which Essendon can get the momentum back, and they just managed to kick 3 in about 5 minutes. It's a quick way to get it back. It very rarely goes from the momentum all with one team and all of a sudden 3 minutes later you have it. There's got to be some middle ground there somewhere, but Essendon got the game on the terms and they had multiple opportunities going forward, and then I felt probably just the last 5 minutes of that quarter, Sydney then just went more to that kick mark possession to take the sting out of the game. But I think it's only really been, it was the back end of the second quarter as well, but it's arguably just been about 15 minutes of footy that have really cost Essendon. It hasn't, particularly defensively. We talked about it at half-time, just about their inability to defend when Sydney win the ball. In that first 10 minutes, it was very similar. Sydney got a bit of speed on the ball, won it back in the back half, and Essendon at times didn't look like touching it, and they'd had good opportunities and good looks going inside 50. So I think just for me, that Essendon get the ball more in the contest or in a contest, slow them down. They just give themselves a better chance. They got the leg speed, they got the users around the ball, and they're on top in that area.
Ruck dominance as well. Yeah, plus 27 contested possession.
Yeah, so that's huge number, right?
They're smashing them around there.
Around the contest, inside 50s, 52 to 37, Essendon's way. So again, they're doing a lot right. It just feels like just their ability to defend and their team defence in particular. When I say team defence, it's generally when you slow the opposition down, so you go into a full team defence kind of mentality and scenario. It's just the lack of ability there to get the ball off Sydney and then force them into like a long kick, slow play, which they haven't been able to do. But it's been Errol Goulden early. Again, it was the back end of the second quarter. His first 10 minutes of this quarter really set them up, and they hit the scoreboard off the back of him and Blake. His run from the back half was really evident. So
Warner got involved a bit,
Yeah, maybe there's something like that. Obviously, the first 10 minutes here, I know it's obvious, but it's really important for Essendon. This will give them a chance if they start well to get back in the game.
Swans back from Perth. We mentioned that before the game. So you feel like, and we've seen them do it a bit too, the Swans. They can put the cue in the rack a little bit too early, and we know that this Bombers team are dangerous, when they have to score. We saw it in the latter part of that quarter. So, you're right. First 10 here, if they can just hang in there and not concede a couple of easy goals like they did in that quarter, they'll give themselves the Bombers, not concede those goals. They'll give themselves a sniff in the last 10 minutes to run over the top.
Swans have won only 7 of their final quarters this year. They're protecting a 25-point buffer in a night so far, which has really been underlined by the injury to Lance Franklin early in the second term. A suspected calf injury and what may eventuate to be his final game of footy with just 4 weeks left in the home and away season. Back in the middle, Phillips wins the tap down to Papley. He's tackled, holding the ball, and Parrish will be rewarded. We'll get the free, in fact, it'll be Merritt, the two-man tackle, and Merritt will take it. He swings the kick out to that City wing for Hind. First goal critical for Essendon. Pokes the pass down to Snelling. He marks 55 out and wants to move it on the sub. Tactical one made by Brad Scott on for Elman Davey Jr. He's 55 out, Snelling. Kicks to a crowded goal square. Wright flies for it. No mark. Falls down to Florent. Hand pass away to Gordon. Sweeping handball to Mills. It kicks to half back. Out on the dock side, and Hayward takes the mark.
Yeah, it's Wicks down the line. Instead goes further afield to Amati in a one-on-one against Zerk Thatcher. Well done, Zerk Thatcher. Ball spills down to Merritt, who gives it to Redmond. Defensive side of halfway. Gets around Papley and then has a bounce. Takes them on, does Mason Redmond. From halfway, kicks Essendon back into attack. McCartan with the fist from the side. Right, trying to find it at ground level, but it goes away of Cunningham to Martin to Rampy and Campbell all by hand. Now the kick out wide for Heaney to run onto at half-back. Chips it down the line to McDonald. Has to collect it on the half volley and then coughs it up to Snelling. Looping hand pass over the top to Hind. Has to get past Heaney, who did really well to win the footy, and then tackled by Hind. Got the hand pass out to Campbell, close up against the boundary line. It spills to McGrath. Jams it on the boot, inside 50. Gets out the back, off hands. Chasing after it is Menzie. Couldn't gather it. Now Mills picks it up for Sydney and gives it to Lloyd.
Goes with the short pass, trying to find Campbell, whacked away from him. Bombers win it back. Parrish tackled, holding the ball. I thought it was Guelphy tackled. Free kick for Sydney regardless, and Lloyd will get it at half-back.
It's a good start by Essendon, though. Yeah. The intensity up, they're dangerous, looks inside 50, getting into dangerous spots. They're small forwards, getting to work, applying the pressure on Sydney's defenders when they win the ball in their back half.
Lloyd long to the wing, but Phillips wins it back, hands it to Merritt. He's off balance, kicks it out on the full.
You have to keep an eye on Zach Merritt this last quarter, the Swans. I don't think they can let him run around on his own. He's up to 33 possessions.
He's had 3 already in the 2.5 minutes we've been playing this final term.
Bombers' key defenders have fought back really well too. Zerk Thatcher on Amati. He looked like he was in for a big night and really hasn't touched it since half-time, Joel Amati.
Campbell to Gordon to Cunningham. Kicks long to the wing. They all overrun it. Parker goes and collects it. Hand pass to Warner. Surge kick inside 50. Redmond at the drop takes the intercept mark. Top of the defensive goal square for the Bombers. Sydney by 25.
New contract during the week for Mason Redmond. 5-year extension. He chips short to Martin. He gives it back to Redmond. From defensive 50. Bumped as he kicked it. No free kick. Down the line to right. And a one-on-one against McCartan. Ball over the line for a throw-in. Defensive side of halfway. Sydney by 25. It was Essendon by a point at quarter time. Sydney kicked 7 goals in a row either side of half-time. Open up a 37-point lead midway through that third quarter. And the Bombers, 3 of the last 4 of the game.
Oh, crooked boundary throw-in. The Rocks run a little towards Essendon's goal. Phillips wins it down, but straight to Parker. Sweeping handball to Warner. Short kick in the centre square to McDonald. Takes the mark just over halfway for Sydney. Trying to place it to McLean. He's got it. Dishes it off to Mills. On the run. He misses near side or behind for Kel Mills. Sydney by 26. 3.5 gone final term. Ian Cohen.
The news for the Swans not ideal. Dane Rampy's just come off and is having the left calf worked on, but he's not under distress at the moment. But Buddy Franklin, well, maybe like Mark Twain, reports of his demise have been greatly exaggerated. He certainly was involved in three-quarter time and trying to gee his team up.
Good news, Ian, is the Bombers from the kick-in almost messed it up. And Zerk Thatcher's got it at right half-back. Kicks down the line for Wright. A long way from home is marked on the City wing. Sydney by 26. Right. A long kick towards half forward. Almost a mark to Perkins. It is high contact, so free kick to Essendon. And it will be Perkins to take the free. He's just inside forward 50, close to the boundary.
To do here, Bees. Not sure the long point's any good to them here.
No, that's what you say.
Top of the square, maybe. See if they can.
Rucks and forwards get to work, try and lay a block, hit it to the hot spot, allow one of them to run and jump, preferably 2 metre Peter.
Perkins from just inside 50 shoots towards goal, right to the line. It's rushed through for a long point. City by 25, 14-8-92 to Essendon 10-7-67. 5 played final term on Grandstand AFL.
Franklin's calf injury happening early in the second quarter. He had the shower at half-time, so he's back out there in the full-team tracksuit, still sitting in the second row, as is customary for the subbed-out player. Goulden takes the mark from the kick-out and then goes short and wide out to McCartan. Closing stages of the third term in Adelaide. It's still the Crows by 22 in the showdown. So another upset brewing in this wacky round 20. McCartan long contest kick. Amati got a shove. Free kick for Sydney on the wing. Amati can put the Swans inside the forward arc. High kick to the top of the goal square. McInerney flies, spills down to Papley, shoots goalward but misses. Near side, so both teams trading behinds to start the final term. 6 minutes old, Swans by 26 points.
Bombers quickly bring it in, Snelling at half-back. Chips it looking for Menzies. It's not a great kick, and Parker picks it up for the Swans, gives it to McInerney, and now to Goulden. His kick smothered by Kelly. Hand passes backwards to Heppel and gives it to Zerk Thatcher, and then chips it over the top to McGrath. From left half-back, hand passes to Kelly, sweeping hand pass to Durham. Hayward applying the pressure. Durham escapes a couple of tackles. Hand passes to McGrath on his hands and knees. Gives it to Guelphy, still tugged up against the boundary line. Kick inboard is not a great one. Couldn't hit the target, and now they've turned it over. Rowbottom. Hand passes backwards to McLean, who then gives it to Parker. His hand pass missed Florent. Hobbs picks it up for the Bombers. He loops the hand pass over the top to Parrish from centre half forward to Langford in the pockets. They worked hard for that, the Bombers, and Langford can line up for a big chance at goal here. Right forward pocket, tight angle.
First signs of fatigue there for the Swans from IB. Luke Parker, who's had his best night, we know that. That was just a really sloppy error, wasn't it? And not a great place to make one. Right, 60 metres out, directly in front, your opposition goal. So in perfect hands for the Bomber supporters.
Langford, 25 out for goal number 5. And the most important one of the night. The Bombers close to within 20. Sydney 14-9-93 to Essendon 11-7-73. 8 minutes played, final term. Grandstand AFL, Luke Ball and Brennan Goddard.
Just when Sydney looked like they were going to get out too, wasn't it, Paulie? That got the ball back through the corridor, had somewhat of an outnumber there with Parker trying to link up through hands, and just a simple mistake just brought Essendon back into the fold with Hobbs. Parrish just snuck forward to the contest. Hobbs able to get the ball out. He could arguably given it to Archie Perkins and ran in and had a shot directly in front from 40, but when you turn the ball over in the middle of the ground off a quick turnover and the opposition get it, it's so hard to defend, because generally your defenders and your midfielders in particular are all trying to get involved in offence.
We get a crowd number, Corb?
Not yet.
They need them now, don't they? They're starting to hear them get involved.
Trying to get involved for the Bombers. A 20-point lead for Sydney. The Dons with the first of the final term, and Langford with 5, an equal career best. Kicked 5 here in round 2 against the Suns. He's repeated it again. They might need a few more from him. Bryan in the middle, palms it down to Caldwell. Pack forms around him. Papley clever, just throws his boot at it. Ricochets out to Campbell. High kick out to half forward at the drop. Heppel never took his eyes off it. Takes the mark half back. Goes short to Hobbs. It's going to be 50. It's against Hayward, so as Heppel landed, he got a shove from Hayward. And now Dyson Heppel grabs the footy and tears forward. Bombers going inside the forward arc again. Peter Wright the target. Kick never got to him. Half volley pick up unsuccessful. Lloyd wins it for Sydney. Hand pass to McInerney. Kicks to Warner. Marks centre half back for Sydney.
Kicks out wide for Campbell.
You've got to attack here, the Swans. They've got to score this quarter, you feel. They're not going to be able to just hold up for another 20 minutes.
Essendon with the only goal of the final quarter so far as Campbell bombs it long down the line. It's a great intercepting grab from Zerk Thatcher. He was marked on the City wing. Sydney by 20. Zerk Thatcher called to move it along. So we'll send it back from where it came to a packet half forward, right from behind. Couldn't complete the mark. Spills to McInerney of Sydney. He gives it to Rowbottom. And now to Warner, who can take off on the outer wing. Hand passes inboard to Papley from centre half forward. Is that holding the ball? The umpire said no. We got the hand pass away. They scrap for it at half forward. There is a free kick and all of that. It is going to go to the way of Essendon to Laverty at centre half back.
Bit of delay on this umpire here. He's just waiting a couple of seconds before he makes his decision.
Just to be sure.
Yeah, let it play out. Zaki Merritt get it. Somewhat of advantage. Doesn't have to call it or blow the whistle.
Behind the 1-2 with Hobbs and then goes short to Snelling.
Delayed 50-metre penalty before that.
Dom's trying to ride some momentum here. Kicks to the top of the goal square. Peter Wright has taken it out of the lead. And Wright has one stick, which has been a little few and far between for him tonight, but he's got it here in a huge moment, 30 metres out just right of centre.
And Corbin's tones just changed. They're a step, the Bombers. And he's up and about.
He's had an almost night, Big Pete. He's kicked a couple of goals.
He got the Bronxies at the start of this quarter. The reigning best and fairest winner. Goodness me.
Got the Jukes to one.
Peter Wright, fist pump before it sails through. Game on. Sydney's lead cut to 14. And the Dons are ready for takeoff. They kicked 3 in a row. And all of a sudden, momentum surging for Essendon. 11 played final term. Sydney 14-9-93. Essendon coming 12-7-79. Swans by 17. Brendan Goddard and Luke Ball.
Was that hot spot where you just spoke earlier, just the long point was no good. Arguably, that's where it should have went earlier. So Snelling just putting it to a good spot to advantage, just allows 2-metre Peter. There was Archie Perkins, had a run and jump at it, but just put it in the space of the forwards and draw the lead.
Dane Rampy been on the bench for 9 minutes. Not sure that cast's ready to go. They do need his experience out there, no doubt about it. They also need to win a clearance here, the Swans.
Crowd is full of voice now. The Bombers 5 of the last 6 goals of the game from the restart. Sydney winning out of the middle through Warner. Tumbles a kick towards half forward. Heppel tracking it back inside defensive 50. Slips a tackle. Kicks across the face of goal to Zerk Thatcher on the last line of defence. So Essendon with the only 2 goals of this final quarter so far. Zerk Thatcher to Laverty, who kicks it to Parrish at left half back.
Here they go again. Parrish steps around the man on the mark. Kicks in the middle of the ground for Bryant. Got a couple to beat. Sydney with numbers. McInerney's hand pass knocked down. Darren forces the turnover. Nick Martin, hand pass to Kelly. Kicks to half forward. No mark for Perkins. Butters up. Second go. Perkins stands up with a footy. Hand pass back inboard. They all slip over. Cunningham keeps his feet. They all fell down like tin pins behind him. Kick heads down the wing. Heppel sockers it back in the other direction. It's out of play, and we'll have a throw in here. High half forward for the Bombers. Crowd involved. Tempo gone up. Essendon with the last 3. And Sydney's lead is just 14 points. Having led by as many as 37 in the third quarter.
Crowd at 38,319 tonight. All flung back into play from the stoppage. Goulden under pressure with the kick. Hooks it around the corner to the wing. McDonald from behind. Excellent grab.
Gee, they needed that. No.
Not much to kick to up ahead. No one inside forward 50 for Sydney. They get back there now. There's McDonald forced to kick backwards to Campbell, who then chips it forward. It's a dangerous kick over the head of Goulden. Great work by Zerk Thatcher, who brought it to ground. Campbell goes after it again, wins the footy. Hand pass over the head of McDonald, but he can run onto it. Loops the hand pass over the top to Hayward. Gives it back to Warner out there, and now to Clark. They're inside 50, the Swans, to Papley. Snap around the corner, lands onto the chest of Wicks. 20 out, slightly left of centre.
It got there, didn't it?
Oh,
it got there.
A bit opportunistic, wasn't it?
There's a few running on empty out there for the Swans. A lot of hands on heads, a lot of teapots, but it wasn't pretty at all. It took them a couple of goes, but they got their mark inside 50, and do they need this?
Sam Wicks has 3 goals tonight. This for a goal against the run of play, and he sprayed it. Margin is 15 points. Sydney 14-10-94 to Essendon 12-7-79. 15 played final term.
Adelaide by 28, 3-quarter time in the showdown, leading the power. So another upset brewing there. Bombers wasting no time. Snelly marks the kick out, goes wide to Durham. Against the boundary line, City wing. The chippy from Seymour goes long to half forward. Phillips, contested mark, reaching over McCartan. Still 65-70 out. He's going to use it himself, Phillips. Tries to hit up Peter Wright. Wright sprawling effort. Wright hangs onto it. Gee, good mark, falling to ground. He got all 2 metres down to the surface at Docklands and hung on to the Sharon.
Yeah, I agree, Beach. I thought Phillips could have given a handball and they could have got it in there quicker and put the Swans under the pump deeper. But in the end, it's in good hands here, and they have stopped the Swans. They're just about cooked. Yep. It's just whether the Bombers have got the time and the skill to execute here in the last 7.5 minutes.
2 metre Peter. He's 4 goal Peter. And the Bombers are coming. Sydney's lead whittled down to 9 points. 15.5 gone, final term. 13-7-85. Sydney 14-10-94. Essendon have kicked the last 4 in the game and 6 of the last 7.
What a game of footy. It's really good. So it's just a matter now how Sydney respond, right? So clearly all the momentum with Essendon. Just what are they going to implement? We just said Brett Kirk get out to their midfielders. He's now going to forward. So I think clearly there's a message coming.
You just feel like they need 1 goal. I mean, Wicks had the perfect opportunity, didn't he, and missed it. And even that was a bit symbolic of how they've approached this last quarter. They just look like they're running on empty. Can they conjure enough just to kick 1 goal? You feel like that'd be enough.
Marty wins the tap in the middle, but it spills to Merritt, whose hand pass to Hine from the wing. Chips it to Guelphy. Just forward of halfway. Guelphy wheels around, pumps it long. Langford got hands to it, couldn't complete the mark. City defence under the pump. It's picked up by Parrish. Gives it to Langford. On the left, a tumbling kick towards goal is out of bounds on the full. Free kick to Sydney in the right back pocket. They lead by 9. 17 played, final term.
Well, who's got the courage to run here for the Swans? Who's got the courage to work for 7 minutes? The reward's there at the end of it. You know, Errol Goulden will.
He kicks it straight to Amati on his chest, half-back for Sydney.
But you're right, the Sydney players just don't look like they're working hard enough now to even create the short 45s on the switch. The defenders make the ground big. Everyone's standing still, just accepting this kick long down the line.
Goes to a contest on the wing, no clean pick-up. Laverty forces it out to Redmond. Hand pass to Heppel. They work through it, the Bombers. To Caldwell. Short kick. Phillips gets down low. Oh, whacks it out wide like Wayne Hunt. Straight to the boundary. Big fella?
That's deliberate.
Has to be. And called.
He just lost his sense of... He lost the compass, didn't he? He thought he was belting it forward. It just went straight to the boundary line.
It went west instead of north.
That's
where
right.
He's trying to get it.
That's right.
Sydney by 9 points. 18 gone. Final term. Swans by 9, but Essendon with all the momentum.
Lloyd chips in board to Florent. Defensive side of halfway. Kicks to a big pack at half forward. Phillips stands tall in the contest. Takes the grab at half back for the Bombers.
Well, the Swans want it in a contest now. The Bombers want it out in space. They want to make the ground big, make the Swans chase them, because they cannot. There's nothing in the tank.
Essendon with the last 4. Phillips long down the line. Blakey with the fist. Warner has a go. Couldn't trap it. Ball alive on the wing. Spills to Guelphy. Gets a hand pass out to Merritt. And now to Heppel. From in front of the interchange gates, he hand passes to Cox. Gets boot to ball. Tumbles it to half forward. Lovely trap by Durham. Wheels around. Wobbly kick inside forward 50. McInerney. Brilliant from McInerney. Wins the footy, then kicks it straight down the throat of McDonald at centre half back.
Oh, Justin McInerney. He's one who looks like he can run. One of the only. He's been magnificent.
Wow, they just it was unbelievable. They had just chances to give the handball and keep speed on the ball, and again they would have given that. What are
second quarter? Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say 25 minutes going into the third quarter, but now they're just running on gas and they're just accepting this long kick kind of stuff, which is playing into Essendon's hands. This is what I said that Essendon need to start doing, or forcing Sydney to do, and Sydney are just doing it themselves. So
Hayward long down the wing, and a pack forms between wing and half forward now for Sydney. Coming over the Coventry end, they've stopped to a walk. McLean wins the hit out. Stoppage win for the Bombers, though. Parrish jams it on the boot inside the centre square. Clean pick up for Menzies. Almost run down. Gets a kick into an open forward arc. Langford one-on-one with Blakey. Blakey slips over. Langford's out the back. Numbers with the Bombers. Langford, hand pass. Durham, goal. The Bombers are knocking on the door. 5 in a row for Essendon. Sydney are flat-footed. The Swans led it by 37. Their lead has been whittled away to just 3. Time on final term, 14-10 to 14-7. Swans by 3.
I'm not sure I've seen this for a while, team. An experienced team, genuinely slow to a walk. I mean, that was a stoppage on the Swans' half-forward flank. And they didn't touch it. They didn't see it. And 2 players slipped and tripped over each other. It was an absolute mess, wasn't it? Kyle Langford, whose eyes lit up, he was sniffing a 6, but did the right thing, got the ball over the top to Sam Durham. And there was another Bombers player down there as well. They could have raffled it. So, geez, if you were a betting man, you'd be all in on the Bombers at the moment. 4.5 minutes to go.
38,300 crowd.
Crowd involved.
Getting up and about, but it's an incumbent on the Sydney leaders now just to continue or encourage the teammates just to keep playing footy. They've got to win the game. They can't be in save the game mode.
Phillips with the clearance out of the middle, tumbles it inside forward 50. Langford taps it over his head close to the line. McCartan happy to see it through for a rushed behind. The margin is 2 points. Sydney's way, 14-10-94 to Essendon, 14-8-92. Quickly down to Ian Cohen on the boundary.
Yeah, Dane Rampy's trying to get his teammates over the line, but he's unable to get over the line himself at the moment. He's still on the pine, and Isaac Heaney's joined him after that heavy clash with Cox on the boundary line. Heaney's hurting at this stage.
Lloyd goes long to a contest at half-back. Off hands, it spills out of play in front of Andy McGrath. A boundary throw-in on the wing, City side. Sydney by 2 points. 22 gone final term. There's only 4 goals in the quarter. They're all Essendon goals. The underdog has won every game so far in round 20, and Adelaide have a sizable 41-point advantage over the Power. Start of the final term in the showdown. So we got the close one.
Well, interesting stoppage on the wing. They haven't put. Usually they'd go to Mills behind the ball here, but they haven't done that yet. The Swans still 6-6-6 ahead of the footy.
Still 4 minutes to go. So.
McLean wins the hit out, down to Warner. Quick kick forward, it got through to Amati. Touched on the way through. Hand pass though to Patley. Open forward 50. Long range goal. Patley's got it there. Patley stands up in the moment of truth and bangs it through from long range. They crack the ton, Sydney, but importantly, take some wind out of Essendon's sails. 15-10-100, Essendon 14-8-92, 23 gone in the last, and Patley with the huge long-range goal.
It was a good contest from Amati, wasn't it? But then Patley just came back to support his teammate Amati, who won the ball, and it was Kelly, I think the direct opponent of Patley, just zoned off him and gave him too much space. It's a great finish, mind you, from about 55 out and bounce it through, bounce it 10 metres short. But we're now seeing Sydney, there's 3.5 minutes to go. Now they've gone in to save the game. So I know you can't see it if you're listening, but they're about to try and get 1 behind the ball, maybe 2, just to try and ice the clock, support their defence.
Sydney by 8. Back in the middle. McLean out of the centre. Gives it to Parker. Jams it on the boot. Inside 50. Handball outstanding.
Yeah, they've been huge this last quarter. The ex-skipper, enormous.
Huge grab and a one-on-one against Wicks. Hand passes to Redmond. Off half-back. His hand pass a little too hot for Zerk Thatcher. He keeps it alive. Hand passes it back to Redmond. He kept running from the wing. That is not a great kick off the boot, but it lands into the path of Merritt. He gives it to Hine, 50 out, kicks it to a dangerous position. They all fly. Who stays down? It goes over the line for a rush to behind. Margin is 7. Sydney 15-10-100. Essendon 14-9-93. 25 played, final term.
Just a 7-point lead for the Swans. Blakey brings it into Lloyd, not 15, once, twice. Lloyd plays it back to Blakey. Hand pass back to Lloyd. Kicks out of the defensive arc. Wants Hayward. Can't complete the mark. It's out of bounds. A throw in between wing and half forward for the Bombers.
It's great defence from Snelling there just to close that exit. because they were trying to go into maintain possession, just ice the clock, but the short kick just forced them to play on.
Swans by 7, still over 3 minutes to go. Boundary throw in, Parrish. Hand pass out to Snelling. Breaks a tackle. Kicks inside 50. Langford underneath it. Spoil from Fox. Loose footy half back for Sydney. Warner's got it. Bounces off Bryan. Warner can kick Sydney down to halfway. Hand on it from Zerk Thatcher. No mark. McGrath wins it for Essendon. Handball to Heppel to Snelling. Back to McGrath. Handball to Bryan. Wants to send the Bombers inside 50. Wright arriving late. McCartan spoils down to Heaney. To McInerney, goes back to Cunningham by hand for the Swans.
Gives it to Lloyd under pressure. A nice kick finds McLean. He can just settle things down for the Swans.
Yeah, see if they can. Doesn't look like it. See if they can take a minute off the clock here.
Sydney by 7. McLean kicks it long to the outer wing. Mamadi has a couple to beat. It's fisted over the line for a throw in between halfback and the wing. Well, Sydney by 7, 25 played, final turn.
Sorry, Jess, they've got to get numbers down the line, the Swans. There's players queuing up here on the fat side of the ground, and they know they're going to go long and skinny. It was a 2-on-1 then. They did well to get the stoppage. Bombers need to get this out into the corridor.
Swans by 7. Boundary throw in. McInerney wins it down. Cunningham. Surge kick forward for the Swans. Zerk Thatcher, safe as houses, takes the mark. Wanted to move it on. Amadi got him. Amadi wins the footy back, and now a ball up half forward play for Sydney.
That might be it. That's a big play.
Just a bit of a brain fade there. Just all we had to take was a step back off the mark and force Amadi to stand. Heppel was out regardless, so he had time and space. Just rushed it a little bit. Just composure under pressure from the young bomber.
Sydney by 7. Ball up, half forward for the Swans. Bryan wins it down, but straight to Gordon. Kicks inside 50. Zerk Thatcher marks here in the defensive arc.
Yeah, they've got to go down the middle. They can't keep conceding going wide.
Zerk Thatcher kicks short to McGrath, who has a bounce at half-back. Loops the hand pass over the top to Heppel. Kick down the line is good. Finds Menzie. Right on halfway, City wing. Jams it on the boot. He was under pressure with the kick. It wobbles to half forward. Warner first to meet it for Sydney. He kicks it out into the path of Goulden, who has some room to move on the wing. Can paddle it to himself. Have a bounce. He approaches half forward. Kicks long to Heaney. Getting back is Zerk Thatcher. Got a hand in there. It's hit the behind post. And it is a behind to Sydney. Margin 8 points. 15-11, 101 to Essendon. 14-9, 93. 27 gone. Final term. Grandson AFL.
So Swans by 8. Essendon chasing the game. Merritt kicks it up to the wing for Guelphy. Takes the mark. Looks corridor for Essendon. Snelling's got it. Hand pass to Parrish. Centre half forward. Kicks into the pocket. Right the target. No mark. Falls down to Mills. Hand pass away to McCartan for the Swans. His hand pass picked off. Hobbs has got it. Kicks one straight up and down the chimney. And helped over the boundary line in the end by Perkins. A boundary throw in. Forward pocket for the Bombers.
They're going to survive. I don't know how, but they're going to survive, the Swans here. Peter Wright, another opportunity. Another drop mark. It was possibly their very last chance. But even then, they went via the Cape, didn't they, Beach? Had to go straight down the middle from the kick in.
That's what Sydney want you to do. They're giving it those wide ones for a reason. It's less dangerous. Easy to hem you in, slow you down.
Gutsy effort in the end, this. There's some players that really stood up. Warner, some key moments. Oh, geez, they've pitched a free kick. I'm not sure that was
from the throw-in. It was out of bounds on the full. The quick shot on goal from Durham has sailed through. It was Menzie, in fact. A late goal to the Bombers.
6 seconds.
They cut the margin at 2 points. There is time if Essendon is good enough. 7 seconds on the clock. Sydney by 2 points. 15-11, 101. Essendon 15-9, 99. 28 minutes gone, final term. Quick thinking from Menzie. Pounced on the free kick.
Well, I think he's paid on the full.
From the pocket, it was.
Was it deliberate?
No, it wasn't. It was just off Chad Warner's boot, right on the boundary line.
You know, in basketball they say you need 0.3 of a second to get a shot off. What is it in footy do you need at a centre bounce to get a
what's the fastest goal that's ever been scored? Is it 6 seconds? What's that goal that Chris Judd scored all those years ago out of the centre?
I think it's got to be.
Who's in there? Who can do it?
It's got to be tapped down.
They need a mark.
Quick kick and a mark, or a free kick
out the front of the stoppage, or quick kick and just a mark. That's it. Maybe.
We got 7 ticks of the clock. Sydney by 2 points.
Grab it and kick it, Nick.
Centre bounce. Bryan down to Merritt. Sockers to centre half forward. Pick up by Cox. Mills the game-saving tackle. Sydney win. The Bloods survived the fast-finishing Bombers. Their season's alive. On a night in which Lance Franklin's calf didn't survive it. Sydney by 2. First half was all about the close nature of the game. 7 lead changes, not much in it here or there. Sydney put some space on the scoreboard late in the first half. They kicked 7 in a row either side of the main break to lead by as many as 37 points. And then the Bombers would not go quietly into the night. They kicked 8 of the remaining 10 goals in the game. And in the end, a late winner for Tom Papley was enough. Sydney get home by just 2.
Cheer the red and the white, honour the name by day and by night. Lift that noble banner high, shake down the thunder from the sky. Whether the odds be great or small, Swans will go in and win over all. While our loyal Swans are marching onwards to victory.
It's been a wacky round 20. We've had upsets galore across the competition, and Underdog has won every single game so far until now. And it felt like in a match tonight coming in, it was a pick-em kind of game. You could have gone one way or the other, and we get that kind of a game in how it plays out. 7 lead changes, 2 points in the finish. Sydney get home only just. They move to 9.5 wins. Their season is alive with 4 to play. Meanwhile, in the showdown, it's wide there. It's the Underdog winning as well. Adelaide by 51 points over Port halfway through the final term. The goal kickers tonight are Marty kicked 4, 3 for Wicks, 2 each for Heaney and for Patley, and then singles for Warner, McDonald, Goulden and McInerney. And for Essendon, Kyle Langford, an equal career best 5. Peter Wright ended up with 4 in the end, including 2 in the last quarter. 1 for Caldwell, Perkins, Hine, Durham and Nick Martin. Sydney by 2 points. Brendan Goddard, Luke Ball. What a night at the footy.
What a night. But like Essendon will be literally kicking themselves. It's 15, 20 minutes of footy that just let poor footy.
Yep.
It wasn't, just average footy. It was poor footy that cost them the game of footy. And they would have known in the back of their mind. I'm just guessing, but maybe it was mentioned at 3/4 time that just, reality is Sydney coming off of Perth trips, back-to-back travels, coming here to Melbourne, they're vulnerable. Well, let's run them off their feet. Because they started well, Essendon, didn't they? Their intensity and their effort early. The forwards were getting to work. They had some really good looks inside 50, deep entries. And then they just ran them off their feet. You called it about 8 minutes out. Ball even earlier, 10 minutes at Sydney looked like they were just slowing up and running on a treadmill. And it looked like that for the next 6 or 7 minutes before they got themselves in a position where Papley, a bit opportunistic really, but just a goal from outside 50 was essentially the sealer. And from that time on, it was about 4 minutes, wasn't it? 4 minutes, 10 seconds, I think, from memory, where they could then ice the clock and send spares behind the ball and lock it down and play kick mark, play keepings off just to run down the clock. And in the end, it was just too little, too late for Essendon. So they'll be bitterly disappointed, particularly after the start. It was a great game of footy early, 5 goals apiece, 10 in the first quarter. And then Sydney's first was 10, 12 minutes, was it, in the second quarter? Just blew the game open. So in the matter, they put on 4 goals and then started the last again. Sydney is, started the third. Picked up where they left off at the end of just at the end of the first half, and again they put on 2 or 3 goals out of nowhere. Sydney, and the game was beyond Essendon as it turns out, but you must give them the credit that where credit's due, in a sense that they didn't give up. They continued to take risks.
So
Peter Wright got his hands on the ball in the end. We said he looked likely all night, didn't he? But
the number domination, so +4 Essendon contested possessions, +12 in the clearances. They won the inside 50 count by 22, 69 to 47.
Essendon had 70 inside 50s. That's huge.
And they lose the game by 2 points.
Yeah, no, I thought their effort around the contest was terrific all night. The Bombers, I thought they really touched up the Swans around that area. In the end, it was just that inability to restrict easy scoring in those little periods,
Team
wasn't
defence,
it?
wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So they'll live to rue that. The coach said that they looked a bit flat last week and a bit tired. I think they ran the game out really well tonight, and it was helped by the fact that their opponents looked absolutely shot. Probably 10 minutes into the last quarter, really. And it was just going to be a matter of time. Could they hold on? Didn't they defend just desperately at the end there, the Swans? It was brave in the end, really, to hang on and get the win.
More from Bally and BJ in a moment. Ian Cohen's in the winners' rooms. Koza.
I tell you what, they have walked in here, they've ambled in, they have just got to the line, but I'm sure they'll sing the song with passion. Buddy Franklin in the middle of it.
Cheers, cheers, the red and the white. Honour the name by day and by night. Lift that noble banner high. Shake down the thunder from the sky. Whether the odds be great or be small, Swans will go in and win overall. While our loyal sons are marching towards victory.
Yeah, well, Buddy was certainly involved. They've now got a team meeting, Corbin, so they're going to go into that, and then we can talk to Tom Papley after that.
Sweet, Koza. If you can even get a message from someone down there in Clubland with the Swans, if they've got an update for us on Franklin. I think Koza was saying earlier, calf tightness is the official wording from the Swans, but let's see if we can get any sort of further message on the status of Lance Franklin.
I reckon we'll take that if it's anything. And that might give him an opportunity. And well, who knows? We're talking like that. We're talking like they've only got 4 weeks left. All of a sudden now they leapfrog the Bombers. They go to 2 points with their bye that they had, level with the Cats now. 2 points outside the 8. They've got a healthy percentage anyway. So
and Sydney Derby next week.
Sydney Derby next week's massive. The Giants off 7 in a row. The Swans will always back themselves there. So who knows? They're just such a proud club, aren't they? And they were never going to go quietly into the night. The team that played in the grand final last year. You feel like tonight there'll be a bit of a toll, though, won't there? There were some really sore boys. Rampy, he's another one I think that we need to keep an eye on. He wasn't able to get back on the ground. It looked like he had a bit of a calf as well. So just the toll of a 3-week period where... And sometimes that's what happens. We saw it with Carlton again too. When you leave yourself with so much work to do later in the year, everything needs to go right. And it's such a marathon that nights like tonight can happen, and it takes its toll. The attrition takes its toll.
Yeah, especially if you need to string it together for 10 to 12 weeks the back
which
end
they have.
after a poor start. So.
And the Cats the same. We saw it at Geelong today with Blitzars and Hawkins. That's why we say it every year, getting those wins in the bank early, because it's just impossible to stay up for a 24-week period. Impossible at this level. So that's what these teams are faced with now. Bombers were brave. I think they're still in the mix. There's still a lot to play out in the year for them. It was going to be a year of improvement for them. I thought some of their younger players. I thought their back line really stood up after half time in terms of some one-on-one contests. Joel Amati looked like tearing the game apart in that first half. Cirque Thatcher fought back. Thought the ex-skipper was great in that last quarter, Dyson Heppel. The current skipper was magnificent across the night as well. I think he finished with 39, did he? Zach Merritt.
It's amazing how much the bounce of the ball, and we're talking about the other team, that Papley long-range goal, whereas it's coming in, looks as if
it's going to talk about bounce the ball, do you?
Well, that's where you were going.
Apologies. One of the most famous bounces of the ball, obviously, the grand final both of you guys played in, but that long-range goal from Tom Papley where it looked like it was probably going to miss, if not hit the post, pitches, cuts back inside. Good on Tom Papley for taking the game on and had a look from long range, and in the end it
was the only option, wasn't it? They really parked the bus. There was nothing ahead of him, so it was either kick a kick to touch and try and get a stoppage somehow, but he took it upon himself, and we've seen him do that. It's no fluke for Papley. It's he's done that before, and he had a pretty good night. He spent a fair bit of time in the centre bounce when they needed some legs. He had 19 possessions, and that was his second of 2 goals. So that was a key moment. I thought Warner, had some key moments late, some key contests. I thought he was terrific, and I like McInerney's game too. Some really key moments late. He looked like he was running strong when none of his teammates were as well. So. And Errol Gordon's he's just a star. He's just an absolute star of the competition. He's finished with a triple-double, 24 kicks, 13 handballs, 10 marks. So 37 possessions and a goal. What a player he's becoming. And in a way, you talk about academy products. Callum Mills has struggled a bit this year, hasn't he? I know he's had his injury troubles, but the sort of decline of Mills and Heaney to an extent has been outshone in a sense by the emergence of Gould. And young Campbell was good too. He's the other one that came through in that draft as an academy player as well. So they've done really well out of those academies.
And these guys I know there was a lot of talk about academies in the past in the Riverina area and sort of footy heartland, but
no, they're legit.
These guys are legit. So they grew up playing their footy in the
it's fantastic.
eastern suburbs of Sydney, sort of played Auskick, I think, with John Longmire's kids, and come all the way through the ranks, and now we're seeing them play as not just AFL footballers, but ascending to be
That's right.
really
and if
players.
It wasn't for the academy, there's every chance they might have been playing rugby on a Sunday. And we know that Heaney was a star rugby player, and you can see Gould in the way he plays, and Campbell. They would have been good players as well. So, I think the academies do a great job, and they pay fair value for them now. So I think it's a great part of our game.
Well, Mills' story, I think, is quite a remarkable one. Grew up playing rugby. He was a fill-in for the Mossman Swans, doing a favour for his dad's best friend who coached the side in junior footy. It was a fill-in, and then it was through that the academy said, "Hey, do you want to come along and be part of the academy?" Which was then in its infancy. And I remember seeing Callum Mills play in the famous 2014 NEAFL Grand Final as a top-up when he was 16. Wow. Isaac Heaney was actually a top-up in that game too. But yeah, without the academy, he would have been playing rugby. Yeah, didn't even know about sport.
And here he is tonight, game number 150, obviously All-Australian behind him as well, Callum Mills. Sydney win by 2 points, a thrilling finish. They did lead the game by as many as 37 midway through that third quarter, and Essendon came rattling home. They kicked 8 of the last 10 goals in the game, and Sydney by 2 points in the finish. The showdown over in Adelaide, it's a 45-point lead for the Crows. Another turn up there. Port Adelaide, if they won tonight, they would have gone 2 games clear, Bally, in second spot.
Yeah, well, the Lions breathe a sigh of relief, don't they?
Yeah, well, the top 3 sides have all lost. Collingwood, Port Adelaide and Brisbane. Melbourne play Richmond tomorrow. So, it has been a wacky round, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has,
Unbelievable. Starting with the Blues last night. Today, GWS came from 35 down to beat the Western Bulldogs by 5. So it's a record 7-game win streak for the Giants. They've played at 12 venues this year. They've now won at 9 of them, which is an equal record. So they've been
good story of the year for mine.
All over the country. Adam Kingsley, first-year coach. You were obviously integral in the appointment of Craig McRae, and it was well reported, Bally, at the time that he ran it incredibly close, Adam Kingsley. If it wasn't McRae, he came, second in the process, didn't he?
In my view, he did. Yeah. It was very close. Voss was right around the mark too. So absolutely no surprise. And Beej, you were coached by him at the Saints, and I remember talking to yourself and Rui and Joey at the time, and you held him in a very high regard. So no surprise that he's doing great things up there.
Freo by 7 points. They snap a 7-game losing skid to beat Geelong in Geelong. They've won 2 in a row at the Cattery and 4 of their last 7.
That's a huge turn up, that, isn't it? Yeah, given the form the Dockers were in, and we thought the Cats were starting to make some noises. That's a massive result, that.
And Gold Coast by 41 points. They win the Q Clash for the first time since 2018. Stephen King now 3 games in, 2 wins, 1 loss as the caretaker since Stuart Dew was sacked, so they're a game and percentage outside of the top 8. Ben King kicking 5 goals. The injury news today, Mark Blitzarv's hammy. Club listing that as a moderate hamstring. They say not as severe for Tom Hawkins, who limped off in the last quarter also with a hammy. At the Western Bulldogs, Alex Keith was concussed, so again an injury to a key back. Still no Liam Jones, still sidelined. And Josh Bruce, a serious knee injury. This time it's his right knee. He had his opposite knee repaired after a torn ACL in 2021. And the club fearing it may be another torn ACL for Josh Bruce, obviously with scans to confirm that in the coming days. Tonight, Lance Franklin did his calf. That's the big news here at Docklands. That was early in the second quarter, so fears as to whether we've seen Lance Franklin on an AFL field for the last time. The Swans have 4 games left in the season, and Franklin at 36 years of age now has a calf injury to deal with, and obviously no contract beyond this year. It's expected he's going to retire, but of course all the talk during the week about whether he'll play on or not, or wishes to. And in Adelaide, there was a heavy collision between Lockie Jones and Aaliyah. Controversially, Aaliyah, after being quite clearly buzzed on the ground, went off, came back on without having fulfilled the concussion protocols. And then later, both guys were looked at and out of the game. So after that huge collision, so there'll be, I'm sure, follow-up questions for Port Adelaide's medical staff and football department after what went on tonight. The Crows are winning the game wide. It's Adelaide who lead it at the moment by 55 points. A minute to go in the game in Adelaide. What a day of footy. There's storylines in any direction in which you look. Full-time here tonight, Sydney by 2 points. Elsewhere, it's lunch balling in the cricket. I know you've been following this closely. England 1 for 130. So they lead by 118. That's in a session's worth of cricket. Yep.
We're just playing a different game, aren't we?
130 runs in a session, just 1 wicket falling. Meanwhile, the Bledisloe Cup tonight. You mentioned this earlier, Beach, about what was the quote from Eddie Jones?
I think it was something like the Kiwi, 85,000 Kiwis are going to be in for a shock.
Right. If you call 38 points to 7 a shock, Eddie Jones was right. But a lopsided victory for the All Blacks tonight in this, not the Super Rugby, in the Rugby Championships, the Bledisloe Cup across town at the MCG.
83,000 there as well, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. I think that was the figure posted I saw on Twitter. So great turnout at the G.
So 38 here today. There were games in regional Victoria, one at Ballarat, one at Kardinia Park. We've got the Matildas on Monday night. There was a big crowd at the G last night, obviously. 80, what did we get?
What was at the G tonight?
That's what Jess was saying, 83.
Oh, the Wallabies were there.
The Wallabies.
Oh, there you go. Well, I thought it was in New Zealand when he made reference to 85,000.
Just shy of 84, 83,944.
Wow, so that's a good turnout. Saturday night.
As soon as you jump on the road, Beach, and try and make it home, you'll realise all the people.
No, I did on the way in. That's why the traffic, and I'm like, what? I came from the other side of town. Sandy played out of Box Hill.
So it's 170 at the G across 2 nights. Cool. For 2 different codes.
Yeah. Amazing. Still with more action to follow, of course, in the next couple of days. Sydney by 2 points. Let's go into the winners' rooms. Here's Ian Cohen.
Yeah, thanks very much, Corbin. Quick medical update as well. The calf is saying, the club is saying it is a calf tightening for Lance Franklin. Also, Dane Rampy didn't take any further part as well. Looks like he's got a bit of a calf issue. And Errol Goulden also had a bit of a tight hammy. But the man who kicked the long bomb goal with a couple of minutes to go, Tom Papley, joins us now. Take us through those final moments, because it was an open goal square. You had a nice strong ping.
It was good hands by Jolie, got it to the ground, and I reckon it bounced outside the square and got a little left to right, which is always nice. But yeah, I think the boys were pretty good until that last quarter. Credit to Essendon, their ball movement is elite. Our defence was probably a bit off, but credit to them, they moved the ball so well through the midfield, their run and stuff like that. So it was a good game, and probably got lucky in the end, but that's footy, and it's hard to win games of footy. And we've got plenty to improve from that game, which is good. We get the win, but also big improvement, which is nice.
I did go through a bit of a list of walking wounded at the moment. Obviously, the most impact for you, and certainly up forward, Buddy Franklin going off in the second term. Have you spoken to him? What do you know?
Yeah, I think it's obviously devastating, but hopefully it's not too bad, and he can get back out there in a few weeks. But you don't know what's going on until you get that scan. So it's devastating, and hopefully the big boy gets back.
What does that do structurally for you up forward?
I think it's actually when we've actually got a bit of depth down there now as a forward group. We've got Amadi, obviously tonight was amazing. We've got a mid-season pick, Jack Buller. Jack Buller, who's come on mid-season draft, who's a really, really good talent, real aggressive. So I think, I don't know what the coaches will do, but he's playing tomorrow. I assume if he goes well, there's a spot there for him, but we'll assess that. We'll leave that to the coaches. That's their job, and
Upstairs, we've got Brendan Goddard and Luke Ball.
Oh, Tom, well done tonight on the team, and also you for, in particular, that moment at the end there. You looked like, or the team looked like, and we spoke before the game actually about the double travel, obviously coming back from Perth and then having come back down to Melbourne. It did look like the tank was empty across the board there in that last quarter. It was a pretty frenetic game up until then. Did you feel like that out there a little bit?
I think the medical team and the fitness staff do it well. Like we got a bit of a light week this week, but double away from Perth is a funny one. It's interesting, but it is what it is, and we're just happy to got the win, and we'll move on to next week and go from there.
You mentioned the depth down forward. Really impressed, in particular with the first half of young Joel Amadi. We know he's re-signed and he's a key part of your future. Tell us a little bit about him. We don't hear about him much down here. I know he's a Melbourne boy originally, but tell us a little bit about what's led to his improvement that you've seen this year.
He sort of was big raw kid when he came, big athletic boy. so powerful, and he just had to get that fitness right. And this pre-season really got that right, and had a few hiccups with injury in the pre-season. Then he did his hammy against Richmond, and he's come back, and he's really sometimes it just clicks for you when you know how to work hard, get fit, and it really has for him. And he's got a big presence down there. He's a big, powerful boy. He takes a big mark, and he's bright for the future.
Perhaps it's BJ, mate. Well done tonight. Just in that last quarter, just take us through as a player. We've been in that situation a little bit, Luke and I. Just when the opposition have so much momentum, did you do anything, or what was the talk, the morale out there like between you guys? Just how did you kind of try and wrestle it back? Yeah,
it's the Essendon fans were really good tonight. It's a great atmosphere there, and it's why you play footy, the atmosphere, and it's great. They were roaring there in the last quarter. It's just about staying composed, and it is hard to concentrate when the crowd is going, but it's important to stay composed. And we probably drifted off a bit there. I think they went down. We kicked a point, and we didn't get the zone right a couple of times tonight, and those little things that we need to switch on. It was really good atmosphere. Credit to the Essendon fans; they come out in full support, but we got the job done.
Is it harder now that the runner can't get on the ground as much, that the onus and the responsibilities on the players in situations like that take control and identify what you need to do? Yeah, it is. It is. I quite like it, like the 6-6-6 and the runners. It creates players, experienced players, really have to use their mind, and it's so hard. And we've got some really good experienced players that can do that. Millsy is really good with that stuff. A couple of guys down back like Jake Lloyd, he's one of the smartest footballers that I would know. And so it's him and Millsy, and obviously a couple of boys down forward. So it is good. I quite like that rule. It makes players really have to switch on, and Yeah, mate, and how's your golf been? You probably couldn't hit your driver as long as you hit that kick tonight, the winning goal, but you've been able to squeeze in any golf? I was really getting into it this year, and I remember at Bonnie Doon now. Obviously, it's not in Bonnie Doon, it's in Page. Good place, played there. Yeah, it's good. And then I've had a bit of a sore hip, so I've had a month off, which is shattering, but I'll get back into it this week, I reckon. I felt good tonight, so get back out there and get the grind in, and off-season... I'll be grinding and hopefully get that handicap down. Good to hear.
Thomas, Jess Webster here. Well done on the win. I want to ask you about Errol Gordon. He's just so great to watch, and I just want to know how much joy does it give you to watch this young star on the rise and what he can produce out there on the footy field?
Yeah, it's actually incredible. It is. It's a credit to him. Like, he works so hard on his game, and he asks so many questions still, and his game is an elite level. And if you want to be an elite player like he is, you have to do what he does, and he just wants to get better and better and better. And if he can keep getting better, it's credit to him. But he's so smart, especially for a New South Wales boy. He probably started a little bit later, and he's just so smart as a player. Runs great patterns. His run is just incredible. He should be an absolute All-Australian lock, because he's the best winger in my eyes in competition.
And your thoughts on Callum Mills as well, speaking about a homegrown talent, 150th game today. He also grew up playing rugby and was lured through the academy. I mean, it's a wonderful journey, and someone I imagine just means so much to the club. Yeah, I debuted with Millsy, drafted with Millsy. He's probably a bit more mature than me, and probably pulled me into line a bit, but it's good. I've come along with him along the journey, and it's been fantastic. He's such a big leader, and he's taught me a lot. I was probably a bit loose, coming from Bunyip, and a bit chubby and things like that, but he's pulled me into line a couple of times, and it's good. He's a great leader. Really epitomises what the Bloods are about, ruthless, and he's such a team man, and he was good tonight, and I love playing with him. He's a hard player, and he's a great captain.
Last one, Tom. You've won, I think you've only lost one of your last 6 now, 3 wins in a row. If you get there, can you do some damage?
Yeah, we think our best is good enough, but we don't look too far ahead, the old cliche. So we've got the derby this week. Really looking for that. I reckon probably one of the biggest home and away season derbies in history. I don't know, it's a big call there, isn't it? But it's up there. They're going really well, the Giants. I love watching Toby Green play, and hopefully he has a quiet one next week. But he's an absolute superstar. love watching him play, and hopefully we can nullify him next week and get the job done.
We love watching you play as well, Tom. Your time's always appreciated. Thanks for stopping by for a chat, and well done on the win.
Cheers, thank you.
Tom Papley from the Sydney Swans. They get home by 2 points in what has been a dramatic round 20 of the AFL season. Adelaide have defeated Port by 47. Tex Walker kicking 7.
Still alive.
The votes in the ABC Footballer of the Year.
Straight to the point.
Yep.
A couple of special mentions.
Yep.
Caudle's first half, Lloyd Amati. There's two different people in that, Lloyd and Amati. And Kyle Langford, I think, for four-quarter effort for the Bombers. But I think one vote goes to Chad Warner. I think his impact across the field, particularly in his forward half. Didn't see, feels like he's spending a bit more time forward than he had been in the past, but I think it's a smart move when you have a guy with speed and power and can impact so much with little touches. It's pretty important in the front half these days.
Big last quarter too.
Yeah, one vote. 2, and this was a bit of a toss of the coin, they're like for like. I'll mention them. Probably know who I'm alluding to, but just because Sydney got over the line, 2 go to Zachy Merritt, my man, and my other man is Errol Goulden, the 3 votes.
That's fair enough,
I think it's hard to go past those 2 for 3 and 2.
The Aussie crawl song will be playing in the background, I'm sure. So 3 for Errol Goulden, 1 for Zach Merritt. 3 for Errol Goulden, 2 for Zach Merritt, 1 for Chad Warner.
Well, they play Eagle Rock after the game and the Swans are walking off, by the way.
Yeah.
I'll leave that one. Yeah,
Not sure.
A strange one. Anyway.
Not sure. Thanks heaps for coming out, guys. Tremendous night at the footy.
Good night at the footy. Thanks, Cobb.
We've got another good one.
101 beats 99. It's Sydney by 2 points in the end as this chaotic round 20 of the AFL Premiership season continues. Join us tomorrow from 12 noon Eastern for Grandstand AFL Sunday. We'll pull it apart from every angle. Upsets galore. In the night fixtures, it was Adelaide by 47 in the showdown, and here's Sydney holding off a fast finishing Essendon to win by 2. Enjoy the rest of your